Oh, hello everyone. Hello. Right. Sorry, my hair is a mess. Um. Right. How's everyone doing today? Hello everyone. Hi Chrissy. Hello Tony Soprano lover. When is your hair not messy? It's normally not this messy, but I showered before this. Ooh. I hope everyone's good. England's greatest posh defender. Yeah, I'm always defending England, so yeah. I hope everyone's doing well today. Right. Zelensky is in Ireland today, is he? I didn't even know that. Doesn't look like those peace negotiations are going as quickly as people thought it would. Right, I'm going to do the Wordle. Sorry, I just feel really... I think it's just because there's so much news to do today. Well, there's not so much news, but then there is. I don't know. Yeah, right, let's do the Wordle. Right, I'll start with a word beginning with... I'm going to do reach. I recommended your channel to my sister, and she said she really likes you. She already likes your VODs. Yeah, I think they're good. I've got a couple of good ones. I probably won't record many VODs today. I can't, but by the way, guys, I'm sorry I put Israel invades Syria in the title. That was probably the thing I researched most yesterday, and I just forgot to do it. Oh, sorry. I also need to get better on TikTok. I'm losing followers for the first time. It's definitely not brace, but yeah. Casty. Hatch. No, it's not. Casty, masty, vasty. That's not a word, but still. It also has a C. C-A-T... What? No. I think it might be T-A-C... Tacos? No. Hello, folks. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm really struggling today. I don't know what is going on. No, it's not something... Is it... No, so it's... Wait, it's X-A, and then T... And we don't know where the C is. So the C's probably not there. What are you drinking right now? I'm drinking a cup of tea. So I think it starts with a C and then it's something... Someone said there's an L. No, it can't end with a Y, but you know what? I don't know why I tried tacky. So it is X. I already knew the T where the T was, so it's something there. Thank God I can listen to your stream while at work. Lucky for you, you can see me doing the Wordle very badly, where I knew where the T was and then tried it. So it's ACT, and you said there's an L. No, an I, like the pronoun. What? An I. It's something. So what? It probably is something like that. Lacti, bacti. I don't know. Is that a word? Pacti, gacti, facti, facti. Oh, is it cacti? Oh, that's probably it. Well done. What a guess. Cacti. Wow. I was trying to think of a word that could plausibly end with that. Thank you. Once again, you're helping with me. God, that was a hard Wordle. Right. Okay. Now I'll do this. Nice catch. Yeah, exactly. Cacti. When you said an I, and I was like the pronoun. Yeah, sorry, no. Also, I should have realised an L looks like... Oh, no, they do kind of look exactly the same typed out on here. I was like, oh, no, it'll probably have some distinction. Frick. Fudge. Frick. Sisi, the leader of Egypt. Mama, Dada, Sissy, Sis. And then there's probably one other that ends with like one letter too many. Frick. No, there's not. Use the same letter twice. Yeah, you can use the same letter twice. Good evening. Good evening. Man, I didn't know you could use this. Yeah, you can. Right, I hope everyone's good today, by the way. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so like, whoa today. I've not been feeling my best again, which is annoying. Right, Fudge, Frick, Sissy Hypno. Yeah, Sissy Hypno. Who was it who said that? Who was it talking about Sissy Hypno? I don't know. Sugar, Fudge, Frick. I think it's one of these, which is like shoot. Yeah, mild oaths. I thought it was going to be like, I guess they probably wouldn't do like synonyms for fuck. Oh, brow is bro. So it is sis, mama, dada, and brow. Clever. I wouldn't have got that one. I knew that it was that, but I didn't know what it was there. Oh, broad. I probably would have eventually got that. Rough, general, ballpark, yeah. I wonder if I can get these. Sugar Angel, Sugar Ray, Sugar Royal, Met Royal, Sugar Met. Are these just baseball things? MLB, Major League Basketball player. Major League Baseball player? I don't know. Right. Okay. That is those done. Baseball. Yeah. I didn't know what that was. I thought it was Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray sing it. Now I'll do the spelling bee to make me feel better. Cat. No. Ladle. No. Cack. Sugar Ray Pog. Sugar Ray sing it. I'm trying to think of what... Hack is definitely one, but it's not a great one. Leak spelled incorrectly. Leech would be one, but it's not a great one. Kale, no. Heckled is a good one. That is a really good one. Fair play. Cackled is another one. Hackled. Chalked. That's a good one. Panagram. That's the great one. Well done. And I want to find the long one. Someone got the panagram already, so. Yeah, fair play. Hackle. Heckle? Oh, is that really? Wow, that's all I can do for today. Well done, guys. I don't know if I really have some memey stuff to start off with. Let me check if there's any memey shit I didn't cover yesterday that might be worth starting off with, because normally I take down memey stuff, but I actually have nothing to cover. And we got Trump's MRI. I didn't actually have any Mimi videos today. I completely forgot. Oh, there's Zara Sultana talking about, which has upset a lot of people. Here. I guess we can watch this. It's not so Mimi, but we can watch it. Yeah. Hackles is in standing up, right?
Kind of policies for the country, and he said nationalise the entire economy. So just wondering, what does that look like?
That looks like a socialist transformation of the country where we nationalise utilities, we nationalise energy, we nationalise transport, we nationalise communications, including the internet, but we also have to broaden our horizons.
But not the entire economy, though.
So we have to have a socialist economy that includes workers running their workplaces through cooperatives. It means public services run for profit, not need, with, workers and users on the boards of those organisations.
Democratic ownership.
And it means the entire economy run by workers, not the billionaires and the corporations that run it today.
So that mean I'm just interested because I mean like kiosks, like small little cafe kiosks, that kind of.
Workers
Owen Jones loves kiosks and little cafes.
Cooperatives.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just interested because you said the entire. I'm just trying to. I think it's fascinating.
The entire economy under the control of workers.
Okay.
Whether that is nationalisation, workers' cooperation.
Socialisation.
And when we look at especially things like food, that means looking at the entire food production system and that being under the control of workers.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound bad. She's been absolutely dragged for it, but Jeremy Corbyn said the exact opposite, so let's see what he said.
Colleagues at Navarra, kind of what policies would you put to the electorate? And she said, and this is a direct quote, she said, nationalise the entire economy. What do you think of that?
I'm not sure what that means. I'm honestly not sure. I would want to see public ownership of major industries like energy and public services like mail, rail and water.
I feel like in terms of what you're what is the more reasonable goal that you could probably get a broader appeal based on the arguments of like what people would want in the UK, and as a transitionary step towards what maybe Sultana is talking about there. This maybe feels like something that would be way more appealing to just talk about for the now, if you know what I mean, because especially things like rails and such, I think that it's, like rail people are much more interested in, and the Royal Mail as well. Is Owen Jones a good faith actor? I don't watch him enough. I don't watch enough Owen Jones. He's been pretty good on Palestine, but he had some pretty dodgy statements around the two-state solution that I'm not really a major fan of. And like we were talking about this earlier with like Norm Finkelstein, and Finkelstein believes in the two-state solution. But I think for me, like, I've seen Owen Jones do bad things, but yeah, Owen Jones destroyed Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, I don't think Owen Jones was that great a help, but I don't think Owen Jones bears sole responsibility for that, in my understanding. Although I wasn't as interested in politics then, like when I was like, or I definitely wasn't as interested in like this kind of politics.
And I would want to see the sort of stuff that John McDonnell and I worked out before the 17 and 19 elections, which is on National Investment Bank, and that's the role for it. Because I think we've also got to be clear, the priority is inequality and poverty in this country. The priority is poverty-stricken children, rough-sleeping homeless, and from this budget, a tax system that brings 500,000 more people into tax who are the lowest earners. They're on $12,000 a year. They shouldn't be paying tax. They shouldn't be paying any tax at all. So I think...
It is crazy how many people in the UK are actually, just benefits make up more of their income. There's like a couple of million people. I can't remember the exact number. In fact, I will look that up. 11 million people of working age for whom earnings make up less than half of their income. That means that there are 11 million people, which is what, like an eighth of the UK population or a seventh of the UK population. I don't know how much that is of the working age population, who are just on benefits, and they're predominantly due to caring responsibilities or disability benefits, and they are still very low. They have just not kept pace with, increases in the UK. Are you a Polanski fan? I think that Polanski's all right. I like Polanski, but I didn't really enjoy him saying that Gary's Economics was like someone who he was a big fan of.
The priorities have got to be ending poverty and inequality in our society. And that's why I suggested in my speech this morning that we could use our knowledge and skill level amongst our membership for a disabled person's commission on the need for reform of disability benefits and disability opportunities in Britain.
Yeah, I mean, I do worry about your party. I think the split has been massive. And I think sometimes, like, I don't know if there was much Israel fuckery here. The video of people giving their opinions about what they thought about the world at your party was a bit memey. There was like some guy who was like, the Israeli working class needs to be protected, which was interesting. I'll see if I saved that. But like, Corbyn doesn't sound unreasonable here. And you're probably correct in the sense of... You're correct in the sense of like what Sultana is proposing is not like... of what Sultana is proposing is not like moving away from capitalism is a good thing. A system that prioritizes profit over people is leading us towards world destruction. And I think that it is a terrible, horrendous idea. But at the same time, I think that like trying to appeal to a broad voter base, which is kind of a problem, if you're talking about nationalizing these major industries and show the success of them, I think that that's a good thing. I think also things like prisons need to be reformed massively and nationalized. There's an amazing story about Birmingham Prison that was given over to a private company, and said private company did such a bad job that they just handed it back over to to the government after a few years. It just increased the violence of the prison massively. All UK leftists know how to do is split into tanky/anti-tanky faction. How do you mean? In terms of what? Corbyn and Sultana? I was watching this video, which I didn't actually really like, of Bernie Sanders, but it's not really surprising.
Foreign aid,
No, that's a Koch brothers proposal. The idea, of course, I mean, that's a right-wing proposal which says essentially there is no United States.
But it would make a lot of the global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state.
Doing away with the concept of a nation state isn't actually a right-wing concept or a bad thing. I know what he's saying here about bringing in huge amounts of low-wage workers to be exploited by the capitalist class, but also Bernie Sanders has been pretty dodgy on a considerable number of considerable major parts of foreign policy, in particular the Israeli invasion of the Gaza Strip. And I think not taking a hard stand on that is kind of indicative of, not being able to deal with immigration anyway. But with nation states, if you're a leftist, why you would think and simultaneously speak positively about immigration when the premise of a nation state is that the nation, the people, are served by the state, rather than just the citizens that make up that society. I think that that's problematic. La bubu indeed.
And I don't think there's any country in the world which believes in that. If you believe in a nation state, or in a country called the United States, or UK, or Denmark, or any other country, you have an obligation, in my view, to do everything we can to help poor people. What right-wing people in this country would love is an open.
And once again, I guess this is something that is like bad empanada's core contention with all of these people, is we shouldn't really specifically be focused on just ourselves and the poor within our countries. Yes, of course, that matters, but we should also be working to uplift people all over the world. I just finished Blowback, and it always surprises me. Well, it kind of surprises me how there's that clip of Adam Friedland, Noah Culwin, and Hassan endorsing Platner, right? And it just surprises me that Colwyn is in any way interested in that. His politics seems to be very much against that. And listening to his thing about Angola, how Angola's trajectory was so badly destroyed by Jonas Savimbi after, the attempts at reconciliation, major destruction of the cities and tearing apart the country, and then we have huge amounts of, people just living in poverty as a result of American policy. But yeah, Blowback is very good.
Border policy. Bring in all kinds of people who work for $2 or $3 an hour. That would be great for them. I don't believe in that. I think we have to raise wages in this country. I think we have to do everything that we can to create the millions of jobs. Open borders.
He doesn't like open borders. A world without borders. That's a capitalist dream. Oh, this is his original video. Let's have a look at this video.
Tell you that these guys are actually on the same side as these guys. It sounds mad.
He's bold. The guy's bold.
But here's how. The Green Party's policy on migration is one of open borders. Sounds great at Glastonbury, but what would it mean for working class jobs? Take the care sector. As a country, we faced huge shortages. What did we do? Did we improve pay and conditions so that more British workers wanted to do it? No. We took workers from the developing world, paid them a fraction of what the job is worth, and called it a solution. British workers are worse off, migrant workers are exploited, and their home countries are stripped of the bright, ambitious people who could build their future. This is not socialism, it's a...
What future? I'm sorry, what future is there to build in a country that gets torn apart by Western imperialism, you know? Like, I know so many people who've come to the UK on the basis of the fact of, like, it's just not viable to live in their country anymore. Like, they'd probably much prefer to live there. I don't know what this guy's opinions on Israel are. We'll find out.
Exploitation.
But, like, I certainly don't think that Zach Polanski is on the side of capitalism.
It's injustice upon injustice. If we on the left care about working class jobs and wages, then we need low, controlled migration, not the capitalist dream of open borders.
Why is the capitalist Jonathan Hindler? Let's have a look. Hinder, sorry, not Hinder. Not Hindler. He did not sign a letter to enforce... he voted yes on Palestine Action being a terrorist organization, and he did not sign the letter to enforce sanctions on Israel. He seems like a great guy. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this is really someone I want to be listening to, or that Bernie Sanders is really the authority to tell us how to behave on this thing. He means no borders for capital, which they're closer to than the average gym. Who do you mean? Then you put your hands off the global south. Yeah, former police inspector. Right, I didn't even know that of this guy. What a brilliant character. I want to see if I can find the video of the people talking about their opinions after leaving the Your Party conference, because they are artful. I should have saved this down. Oh wait, actually,
your take.
Before we do you want to see a video which I saw described as Dead Party Chat Final Boss?
So what's your take?
Batman's a dickhead.
100% agree.
He's a billionaire cop.
Bad guy.
He goes around beating up drug addicts instead of investing in healthcare, the infrastructure of Gotham. He's like a toxic man. He's like hurt people guy. Just goes around doing the same
In my understanding, though, like, isn't this something that's quite often explored in Batman? Like, I think the films maybe are not so much. Utterly ridiculous. Red Cun's boo-boo secured. Hello, Sophie, and congratulations on your 6 months. It said former police inspector. Jesus Christ, look how unobservant I am. But isn't this something that's explored in Batman? Like, what he's like? And the film, to be fair, Bane's pretty damn radical. Bane blew up the New York Stock Exchange, didn't he? Bane hits the stock exchange. But there's not really a reason. I don't really remember the film enough. Why did Bane do that? Why did he blow up the New York Stock Exchange? What was his reasoning for doing that? I guess I'll have to look into it.
Over and over again, just beating up vulnerable people.
Batman's kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's like learning.
I'm not sure that some of the people in Batman are meant to be vulnerable people. But standing with Bane, I don't know why Bane did it, but it is pretty woke blowing up the New York Stock Exchange.
Karate, so you can go around beating people up.
No, I see what you're saying. He's just a rich guy who decided he doesn't even have powers. He wasn't even chosen. Like, at least Spider-Man was chosen. He got bit by a spider.
Yeah.
All those other guys, they're superheroes.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just like, I'm so rich that I'm going to be a cop.
It's libertarian nightmare without actually thinking about.
Okay, maybe this guy's got a good take, because as we're saying, Bane did blow up the New York Stock Exchange. He's not really a hero, he's an anti-villain, I suppose. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. When the movie made that turn. I don't remember it. Yeah, he does. Like, Bane genuinely does blow up the New York Stock Exchange. I don't know why. It's actually one of the problems of quite a lot of superhero films. Very often, like, the people have, like, a radical position, and the figure of the superhero normally acts to maintain the status quo. So there is actually a commentary in this, but just sort of going, Batman is capitalist. But let's find out. I'm a fan of the movie despite this second post, but this also irritated me. Bane breaks into the New York Stock Exchange outside of trading hours, plugs in a random laptop, uses stolen fingerprints from Bruce Wayne, and somehow passes trades that bankrupt him, and lose him control of Wayne Enterprises and the reactor project to Miranda Tate. There's not a bit of that plot that makes sense to anyone who has ever traded a stock. Chiefly, markets don't suddenly become open to transactions because a laptop is connected. Wow. Wayne would never have a trading account directly at the stock exchange because he's not a broker. Bro, he might have Trading 212. The trades happened during a terrorist attack, so would be legally void as a criminal activity. The plot suggests this is ongoing, but takes time, and trades are presumed valid until that happens. The world doesn't work like that. Systems and accounts have limits, so a trade that somehow bankrupts a billionaire would never be possible unless it was collateralized or backed by a credit line. The scene where Wayne Enterprises then has a new controlling shareholder would presumably be because Wayne has personally been forced to sell his shares. Bro, I don't know. I don't know what this person is talking about. I don't remember the film enough. Oh no. Oh no. So we've got some really conflicting opinions here. Batman is just Mr. Jimmy Beast if he drank more protein shakes. No, because Batman for all of his ills is not forcing people into mentally damaging situations. One of the biggest points of contention in The Dark Knight Rises since its release has been Bane's stock market hit resulting in bankruptcy of Bruce Wayne. It still comes up in the criticism. Okay, he doesn't blow up the stock exchange, does he? I needed this to be real. The first thing to recall is the clean slate, right? When the concept is introduced in the movie, the viewer is informed that the program, the ultimate tool for a master thief with a record, has the vital ability to oh god, I don't want to read this. Batman hawked all the robbers down in the comeback and acquired clean slate device just as the program was completed. He takes it back to the Batcave, notes the encryption, and then sends it to Lucius. Oh god, I'm not reading that.
The people or the community just goes out, beats the shit out of people.
Right.
And I think it's kind of the mythology of the libertarian nightmare that is America at the moment, which is the individual over the people.
I do think that there is something reactionary about superhero films, by the way, in the sense of like how the superhero normally is, as I said, I listened to a great podcast on this. They generally maintain a status quo. That's the problem. They have all these powers and they work to maintain the status quo, which is largely just the normal flow of capital. I really want to find this video of
And I think it's a bit.
I want to find the video of the Your Party thing.
Batman was a movie about a guy who got rich and is like, I'm going to be Gandhi now.
I mean, Gandhi was a dickhead too. Mother Teresa, dickhead. If the film about Batman was like him going around and investing in the infrastructure and building something, it is boring.
I love this description of that would be a brilliant film. Just Batman investing in infrastructure.
That's the problem with the projection of left-wing politics, is that it's not this quick fix, glamorous thing with like a lot.
There are some kernels of interesting things that he's saying in here, but it is definitely dead chat final boss. I am really wanting to find this video. Do any of you have it of the guy who talks about the Israeli working class?
A slogan like Brexit or MAGA, it's a 50-year plan that takes time and is boring in the sensational kind of personality politics that happens now. Free healthcare for all is basically what I'm saying.
Amazing things are happening over here. I really want to find this Your Party video. I'm going to strive to find it because it is wonderful. But right, Mr. Beast is more akin to the guy from the Saw movies. Yeah, in a certain sense. I'd watch a movie about Batman investing in high-speed rail. Yeah, I mean, it would just be very boring. Although, there's a great episode of The Simpsons where they invest in high-speed rail, and look what happens. It's the damn monorail. Fuck. I really want to find this Your Party Israel thing. My dreams of finding it are being dashed as I use my PC right now. No, I'm finding this. I am finding this. How have I been so stupid? I shouldn't be doing this. Sorry, I'm doing this. Cillian Murphy deserved more screen time. He only does one thing in the third film, right? Which is sends Batman to the ice. No, Jim Gordon has to go on the ice for not being woke enough. Oh, God, I'm having to look through so much here. Okay, I can't really find this. Oh, here it is.
I'm pro
Here it is. It's a real eclectic mix of people.
Brexit because I'm from the Commonwealth and basically I'm one of the Boris waivers, so I actually like Brexit.
I had a few argue with Jeremy Corbyn yesterday, so yeah, Giselle.
We do not want Keir Starmer as Prime Minister.
100%. Her politics are in line with the form, and frankly, Keir Starmer could go there while you're at it.
One's an active war criminal and one's a passive war criminal.
Keir Starmer or Tony Blair? Jeremy Corbyn.
Both need to be in The Hague.
Neither, both war criminals.
Okay, so far based.
Tony Blair. Keir Starmer, at least is ineffectual.
Pay rise for nurses or pay rise for police?
Fuck the police, yeah, no pay rise for nurses.
I like this guy.
At the moment, probably the police need slightly more funding at the moment.
Sanctions on...
Interesting guy wearing a keffiyeh and just talking about the pay rise for the police.
Russia or Israel?
Israel, obviously.
Israel, definitely.
Russia is the one that came to my head first, so I'm sorry. Obviously, with sanctions on the Israeli capitalist class, not the workers in Israel, their jobs for working class people should be protected.
The jobs of the Israeli working class. Like, what? This is a really interesting comment. Like, in terms of the Israeli working class shouldn't be sanctioned. I think for me, I kind of struggle to see that because the Israeli working class has always been premised on the theft of Palestinians' lives. So, you know, not such a big fan of that. And that Israelis should be absolved. They need to be held to account. And also, by the way, a working class that is largely just made up of theft from Palestinians. We don't want to end up like... I guess apartheid South Africa didn't end up in that way. It was more because of an elite class who'd basically enriched themselves during apartheid and were never held to account. But still, no thanks.
Tana or Jeremy Corbyn?
I know I'm wearing a Jeremy Corbyn shirt, but Zara Sultana, just because as a woman of colour, we've got to support each other.
Jeremy Corbyn. BBC licence fee or scrap it?
We don't want the BBC. They talk a lot of rubbish.
Scrap the BBC.
Brexit or rejoin the EU?
Didn't want Brexit. Rejoining's not the answer either. I would like to, but it's going to take years to redefine that model. If this system isn't working, then we would have to look to rejoin the EU.
Shabana Mahmood to reform or stay at Labour?
Both the parties should just die.
She's already at reform. She's my local university MP, and yeah, fuck off. Go into, like, reform or something.
To a bin?
Well, the sooner she goes there, the better.
Finally, comrade or friend?
Comrade, absolutely, 100%.
I like this lady.
Comrade, always.
Comrade.
Yeah, big fan of them. Some people there, interesting beliefs. I just want to see if there's any other videos of it. Or is that was really the only artful piece that I've ever seen, that I saw come out of it. But, yeah, I mean, it's gone pretty catastrophically, the Your Party. Oh, wait. There's more quotes from this guy. He must be Socialist Workers' Party? I don't know. We found this guy.
A government will send in the commissioners. Well, we're in Liverpool here. And like Lucy Williams said in her great introductory speech, we're on team working class. And in the 1980s in this city, where the Labour Council eradicated homelessness for single women, built more council houses than the rest of the country put together, new parks, sports centres that are still serving the community today. Not only could Margaret Thatcher not send in the commissioners, she couldn't even send in the military. And the reason for that, comrades, was because within the city, the local trade union movement, not the leaders who always opposed what the comrades did, but the local trade union branches, the shop stewards and so on, they supported the campaign. And that's why your party needs to turn towards the working class and its organisations, fight right-wing trade union leaders. And when one of the leaders of that campaign, Tony Mulhern, his expulsion from the Labour Party was upheld by Lord Justice Lawton, who had stood for the British Union of Fascists in 1936 in the High Court. When he upheld Tony's expulsion, Tony turned round and said, you can expel us from the Labour Party, but you can't expel us from the working class. And the way you build a mass socialist party with a working class base is not to expel socialists from the very outset.
Chris, are people in the UK actually happy with Brexit? No. I mean, it was kind of just shooting ourselves in the foot. It was a really, really, really stupid decision to make. It was a really stupid decision to make. And I feel like it's a waning thing of just clinging to empire, of like thinking that Britain is a powerful country that still has this amazing place within the world. It's not. We failed. It was terrible and it was a stupid decision. But at the same time, I don't think you can really reverse it. I think it probably would ultimately be better to be in the EU, but it has not improved the lives of anyone. And so, yeah. And I think that the better question is asked by Drac the Ripper. Are people in the UK happy, full stop? Everyone's miserable here, in part because of the weather, but also just because of how expensive life is and the little that you get in return for it.
Socialists and Marxists are a part of the working class, and we should be allowed to organise in this party. Socialist organisations should be allowed to affiliate. This is Liverpool. Let's lead from the front.
There are also just definitely some really minor improvements that you can make in people's lives to just convince them that this is the only way forward. Like by basically unionizing hospitality as an industry. If any of you work in hospitality, it is so ridiculous as an industry. The fact that basically you get your shifts a week before you do it. The fact that sometimes they change, that they don't give you enough, that constantly they're pushing more 0-hour contracts, that you basically have no power. Like at least if you work at Tesco or something, you know, the manager can't really get out of line because you know you can report them. In so many of these independent places where you can like, I don't know, work at a cafe where the pay might be better, the people running them are just like insane and they are just constantly abusing you. And it's definitely because in part it's a stressful industry, but it's also just because there's nothing to push back against them. And so like a lot of the stuff that like people like this push is completely reasonable. And I really think for most people they'd be like, yeah, that's reasonable. But I think people will always be turned off in a certain way by, you know, by like Sultana's pitch of nationalizing everything, because everyone will be like, look, they're idiots, they want to make the Soviet Union for you again. But even then, regardless of what she does, Jeremy Corbyn will be smeared as exactly that kind of person.
Allow dual membership, not sectarian attacks. Let's not do to this party what the Labour Party did to militants. Thanks, comrades.
Nice. So the guy who was like, no sanctions on the Israeli working class. Who are the Israeli working class? It would just be Mizrahi Jewish people predominantly. And the Mizrahi Jewish people. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Wasn't sure if it was like a MAGA cult mentality with Brexit supporters. I mean, there are some people who are like, oh, it's because we didn't do a hard enough Brexit, but yeah, it's not really as much of a MAGA cult. By the way, we had some absolutely amazing things happening in the UK. I'll talk about this before I get to Syria. So if some of you remembered, I talked about like this fake anti-Semitism scandal where the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, you know, the ones who were really kind and nice in Amsterdam, all of a sudden were being banned because they were just Jewish. Well, we had an amazing commentary from the Home Affairs Committee, because apparently there was some massive major lies that were made out that have been reported in mainstream media, the BBC misleading again. But let's have a listen to the people who are, you know, working on this really important stuff that the UK needs to be focused on.
There are some declarations of interest. I will declare that I am an officer and member of the Conservative Friends of Israel.
I'm a member of the Labour Friends of Israel.
I've received a donation of £2,000 from the Lib Dem Friends of Israel.
Everyone on this committee is a friend of Israel. Also, the fact that all of these people just feel comfortable enunciating this kind of stuff is truly unbelievable. Sorry, I'll actually flip it over to this one because I wanted the longer version, and there is one.
To investigate as a committee the order. Can I welcome our first member of the panel, our first witness on our first panel on this one-off session that we're holding to investigate as a committee the events surrounding the decision to ban away fans at the Aston Villa Maccabi Tel Aviv game. Before we start, there are some declarations of interest.
So I'll just skip to the part. Actually, wait, I'll leave it.
I will declare that I am an officer and member of the Conservative Friends of Israel.
I'm a member of the Labour Friends of Israel.
I've received a donation of £2,000 from the Lib Dem Friends of Israel.
Peter?
And I'm a Jewish Labour MP.
Let's start off. We very much welcome you, Lord Mann, for appearing. Would you just like to introduce yourself and then we'll get into questions?
Yes, John Mann, Lord Mann. I'm the independent advisor.
By the way, this guy is not an independent advisor at all. He's really not. He's just apparently some expert in anti-Semitism. Not true.
To the government, as I have been. I'm on my 5th Prime Minister.
You are on your 5th Prime Minister. Right, we're going to kick off with questions, and I'd like to bring in Peter Prinsley.
Great. Thank you very much for coming this afternoon. So my first question is, what do you see as your role in this issue?
So this is an old article about this guy from the Canary, talking about this guy not really being independent. But yeah, just also, by the way, I tweeted about this. It is so amazing that so many people who literally declare themselves to be friends of what is a genocidal apartheid state that is unwilling to uphold basic international law are somehow, like, you know, allowed to to just waste this much government time. So, early efforts in this campaign deliberately confused opposition with the actions, to the actions of the successive Israeli governments, which have systemically oppressed Palestinians with anti-Semitic hatred of Jewish people. This has been a theme throughout, and as I see it, the only way anyone could possibly say that the Canary is anti-Semitic, we have always been willing to criticize the Israeli government and military in their treatment of Palestinians and Jews of color. Because the creation of Israel, blah, 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 wait, well, this is not as helpful as I was hoping for. Wait, where is Lord John Mann? Wait, I thought that this was the article I was looking for. Hold on, my sincerest apologies. Like, this guy is just not an independent advisor at all. At all.
So you've never...
There's actually an interview with Owen Jones. We'll just watch
You're
this.
wrong.
So you've never spoken
wrong.
out. You've never spoken out. But if I Google to see that you've spoken, what will I find?
What will you find?
Will I find that you've ever
Google
spoken
and
out?
see.
Okay.
Google and see, and then come back.
Well, why not just tell me now? You're the Lord. You can tell me.
Google and see. You know, you stated. You stated my opinion.
You said you've spoken about the issue before, which you have.
No, I haven't.
When? You've never spoken.
When?
Have you never spoken about Israel and
When?
Palestine?
When?
So have you never spoken? Okay,
When?
Let's Google.
No, when?
I'll check.
When?
We'll just check now.
When?
It's easy to check.
When? So this
you
man.
can't. Oh, dear.
So this man is busy telling me my views that he's never actually even researched. I suggest as a journalist what he does is he goes and researches my views before he comments on them. Okay, here we go.
Can I have that back? Fuck off.
I do like that.
Why? Can you give me a mic? Come on, John. John, don't be ridiculous.
Why?
John, give me the mic. Come on.
You're busy.
John.
You're busy doorstepping. I'm doorstepping you.
John,
now.
that's not. John, let's not cause a scene. Let's not cause a scene. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
There's a microphone there.
Thank you. Sorry, don't do that, John. I'm a journalist. Sorry. He's a lord, but he doesn't like being questioned.
Double standards when it comes to Jewish people, double standards when it comes to Israel have no place in the modern world. It is double standards that we see when it comes to anything Israeli. That is a major problem.
The United Kingdom and Israel have had a row over a British court's attempt to arrest former Israeli Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni for alleged war crimes against the Palestinians.
Tzipi Livni is a wonderful figure. She literally said, I studied international law. I don't believe in it.
UK Member of Parliament John Mann, who is currently visiting Israel, said that the laws in Britain have to be changed.
And it's become a key part of left orthodoxy that Israel should be demonised and delegitimised. And that needs directly challenged.
Oh, God. Lots of people asking, is it anti-Semitic to criticize Israel? Answer, it depends on your intent. We could have Ethan Klein as the independent anti-Semitism advisor. But yeah, so this guy...
Which Israel are using to...
Okay, so this is also part of their conversation.
To talk, you don't like to listen.
Down.
You like to talk, you don't like to listen.
What do you think about... Do you think Israel's committing genocide? Just something you've been very outspoken about, the whole issue. Do you think Israel's committing genocide?
When have I spoken about Israel?
You've spoken about Israel and Palestine before.
When have I ever spoken about Israel or Palestine?
Double standards when it comes to...
We just saw this bit.
Have you not spoken about it?
When? You just said I had.
I would say you
just said I had.
Do you not speak about it?
You just said I had.
Okay. What's your view about the issue?
You just said I had.
Okay.
When have I spoken?
The United Kingdom and Israel have had a row over a British court's attempt to arrest former Israeli Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni for alleged war crimes against the Palestinians. UK Member of Parliament John...
Also, what does this have to do with UK anti-Semitism? And yeah, John, give me my mic back.
John Mann, who is currently visiting Israel, said that the laws in Britain have to be changed.
You've no idea my views or what I do on that.
Okay. Well, what are they then?
You've no idea.
What have I got wrong? What are they?
Well, you said when you. I haven't.
Do you think we're arming genocide? We're providing crucial components for F-35 jets?
I think what we should be doing is making sure there's peace and working with all sides.
Also, by the way, this is just like government policy, bipartisan government policy. Why would we work with Israel to achieve peace? I'd love for someone to tell me what like the good reason for working with Israel to achieve peace would actually be a good idea. But yeah, because over and over again, successive Israeli governments say, no, we're not interested in peace. And yeah, gaslighting Olympics. I can't tell who's gaslighting who. Obviously, John Mann is the gaslighter in this situation.
Does providing crucial components to F-35 jets, which Israel are using to incinerate babies, does that make peace happen?
I think us working to get peace is a very good thing. The more we do it, the better we do it, the more effective we do it, the more we do it with Palestinians, the more we do it with Israelis, the more we do it with other states.
What about the components? What about the components? And
that's what I do.
Sure.
I do my little bit in relation to that, and I'm going to continue. But I don't need to tell you or the rest of the world what I'm doing or how I'm doing it.
I think that really, as like an independent anti-Semitism advisor who's, definitely spoken out in favor of Israel, that it might be important to tell people what you think.
Well, you started
to cite. No, you started to cite. No, you started to cite my views.
No, I didn't.
On issues. Yes, you did. You've said this.
You've spoken out about it.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
So you've never spoken
wrong.
out. You've never spoken out. But if I Google to see that you've spoken, what will I find?
What will you find?
Will I find that you've
Google and see.
And it's become a key part of left orthodoxy that Israel should be demonised and delegitimised. And that needs directly challenging.
Google and see and then come back.
Well, why not just tell me now? You're a lord. You can tell me.
Google and see. You stated.
I said
you stated my opinion.
But yeah, this is not the first time that this guy has been caught. Oh, for fuck's sake. Why am I having so much trouble? This is not the first time that this guy has said some very interesting things.
I think
here's him talking on the Asma Mir and Stig Abel with Times Radio breakfast just after October the 7th.
It's a pretty cynical ploy, to be honest, that MPs are using immediately after taking a very unpopular vote. 80% of the British public oppose this. 50 Labour councillors have stepped down. 10 shadow cabinet ministers sacked or resigning. 90% of Labour Party members opposing continuing to bomb Gaza. And Keir Starmer running on an anti-war platform that he would seek peace wherever he could find it. So there's a real sense of disappointment, certainly in Bethnal Green and Bow, my MP, Rushanara Ali, twice put out a statement saying she supported a ceasefire, then voted to abstain. It's not only just cowardice, it's a capitulation on democracy, and we're just holding them to account. The idea that this is threatening and intimidating when nobody's really said anything other than protesting outside of constituency offices is really cynical, and I think it plays into people's fears about Asian and people of color protesting, that somehow that's intrinsically or intuitively threatening.
Lord Mann, he's the government's independent advisor on anti-Semitism. John Mann, good morning to you.
What? Rent a crowd wandering round MPs' offices, shouting at them randomly outside offices that nobody's in. I mean, that's just a press stunt. It's not an attempt at lobbying. But rent a crowd going around. What I would have done with rent a crowd is I'd have told them to get lost and come back when they're in a civilized place.
I don't really think we need lessons.
Amazing. Wait. What did he just say? This guy's the advisor on anti-Semitism.
Is I'd have told them to get lost and come back when they're in a civilized place.
I don't really think we need...
Also, describing people who are incensed by Israel's actions in Gaza as somehow being, as somehow being these kind of uncivilized people is truly unbelievable. Because what is the response?
Lessons from him on what democracy is. But rent a crowd, he said that 3 times. How disgusting. These are people in our hundreds of thousands, in our million, actually coming out on the streets, caring about an ongoing genocide, and he calls that a rent a crowd? What makes something a rent a crowd? Because people came out to hold their MP. Also,
by the way, all of these people who talk about rent a crowds are just upset that Israel has no motion like this.
He's accountable. I mean, the idea that this is uncivilized, again, racist language, because would he call a group of white people from the home counties protesting uncivilized?
Well, let's put that to him, John. John, are you saying that's racist language to say that they're uncivilized? Hang on a second. Go, John.
So I don't know who this extremist is who's tried to put words in my mouth. Uncivilized is his word, not mine.
What a brilliant guy. Oh, so this was him talking to Ashok Kumar, who's like someone who talks about Palestine a lot. He's like a decent voice on Twitter. But yeah, him just saying that everyone is like, uncivilized, that people protesting, that he has no personal interest or any of these things. Yeah. Wait, apparently...
Order. Can I welcome our first...
Wait, someone said there's a point at which he says... someone says that there's... I haven't seen this myself. Lord Mann, the anti-Semitism advisor to Labour, asked by an MP, Maccabi fans sang racist songs referencing Gaza. Man, it is the same as singing anti-Manchester United songs. By the way, these were songs about children in Gaza. Oh, Jesus Christ. There being no schools in Gaza. Really, really amazing stuff is happening in the UK. But yeah, so this all basically started because if you remember a few months ago, there was like this whole scandal. It was happening whilst I was in Canada, and I remember talking about it. And basically, what the claim was that the police had relied on totally false intelligence. So this MP is the guy pushing it. Today I'm publishing the secret West Midlands police intelligence report used to justify banning Israeli Jewish supporters from Villa Park. I'm also publishing other materials that contradicts the police intelligence. So they were talking about, basically, he says it's because of this safety advisor group that had told the West Midlands police that they should ban it, but they were saying, no, it's not this acceptable group. And then he says, a report by the Dutch Justice and Security Inspectorate contradicted West Midlands Police. So apparently there was no deployment of 5,000 officers to police the situation. Okay. And then he said there was no evidence that 500 to 600 fans intentionally targeted Muslim communities, nor of people thrown in the river. Then in the Sunday Times last weekend, the Dutch police laughed at the West Midlands Police. Wow. Sebastian Meyer, a spokesperson for Amsterdam Police, called the claims of West Midlands Police in its intelligence report and public statements not true. The police are accused of fabricating evidence and lying about it. Who are they accused by? The pro-Israel groups. The police genuinely feared disorder, but wanted to blame Israelis and Jews, not the Islamist agitators and local thugs. I also love, why are you defending any of these people who sung the songs? First time commenting here. Awesome, man. Thank you. Found you through Hassan. Like your work, mate. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Always nice to have new people. And I'm glad you found me through Hassan. That was the original demand of the local MP, a so-called Gaza Independent, and of at least 2 councillors in the Safety Advisors group. The West Midlands Police Intelligence Report bears some resemblance to research by the Hind Rajab Foundation. The foundation claims it laid the groundwork for the police. Its chairman, Diab Abu Jaja, is a former Hezbollah fighter. By the way, he was just like some low-ranking guy who joined Hezbollah. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to hold like some Lebanese person who joined Hezbollah to that much account when Israel was illegally occupying their land. That is an insane thing you are asking me to do. To get, genuinely, if you are supportive of the Israeli military, what is the major difference? What, Hezbollah committed war crimes and are evil monsters in your eyes? There were literally members amongst the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans who were there, doing this kind of stuff. And then he's basically, there's this video of him crying, but it's got music on.
The left say there aren't any no-go areas in our country, but tonight...
So there aren't no-go areas in our country, but apparently it's tonight, yeah. I asked an urgent question about this in Parliament on Monday, and Policing Minister has written to the West Midlands Police seeking answers, and the Home Affairs will take evidence from West Midlands Police on Mondays. Pro-Israel MPs wasting money and time. But yeah, asking us for information. So this is basically, he published this and there's amazing claims. Amsterdam Mayor says she does not recognise does not recognise Birmingham police claims about Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Now, Nick Timothy had one post from the Home Affairs Committee yesterday, which was interesting to say the least. Sorry, I've now got to click back through loads of stuff. So he only posted one video from it, which was this one. 30 seconds of a very, very, very long thing.
Were very stretched, particularly the day before, because they hadn't assessed the match as being high risk from their perspective. And they informed us very clearly, and I've spoken to the Chief Inspector myself on Wednesday of last week, that they said they deployed 2,000 riot police on the day of the match. And where the 5,000 comes from is exactly as you said, which is our professional assumption of our Silver Commander, which is over the 3 and 4 days of the actual event, you'd need about 5,000 police officers.
So basically, he's talking about that being an assumption. Literally, yeah. He's just talking about how this is an assumption and that they were like, well, we considered that over the multiple days, you would have needed a huge amount of police to police the situation. And the framing of this in Western media, in British media, has been unbelievable. Look how it was first published in the BBC. Villa Maccabi ban evidence changed to fit decision. That's what the MPs were told by John Mann. This is the BBC. This is the BBC's claim on this. Like, this is coming from just like pro-Israel people who basically just get to influence British policy. Like, they take donations and then they just do this. Video is way too quiet. Oh, many apologies. Sorry about that. I didn't know that it was too quiet. I'll fix that for the next one because there's quite a few more. But if you actually bothered to listen, and there's a reason that this Nick Timothy fucker posted absolutely nothing about this. Now, what we heard from them, now what we actually heard, if we bother to listen to this.
And on Wednesday the 1st of October, and this is very important, is that I sat down with the Chief Inspector, who is our planning expert, who had spoken to the 3 Dutch police commanders. And this really, panel, is where the difference occurs between what Lord Manor said and the information that was provided to the Chief Inspector. And the information provided from the Dutch was very, very clear in terms of they reflected on the days before, during and after the match. As a result of clashes between the Maccabi ultras and the local Muslim community, the police in Amsterdam...
We'll stop in a moment.
This is one question 7.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
The police in Amsterdam were very stretched, particularly the day before, because they hadn't assessed the match as being high risk from their perspective. And they informed us very clearly, and I've spoken to the Chief Inspector myself on Wednesday of last week, that they said they deployed 2,000 riot police on the day of the match. And where the 5,000 comes from is exactly as you said, which is our professional assumption of our Silver Commander, which is over the 3 and 4 days of the actual event, you'd need about 5,000 police officers. So in terms of what we were told,
I don't know what the bell noise is. I don't know. Maybe it's that it has to end. And yeah, brilliant idea. Playing the Charlie Kirk music over it. But there's a clear explanation for this. And then pro-Israel MPs tell us otherwise. Like, let's be frank here. The only reason that they did this specifically. They did this specifically so they could waste our time.
The ultras were very well organised, militaristic in the way that they operated. They attacked members of the local community, including taxi drivers, tore down flags, people were thrown into the river, and definitely the singing, and I think the question from one of your colleagues earlier about the no schools in Gaza, as the children were all dead. They further stated that this group specifically targeted the local Muslim community deliberately.
Like, this has just been effaced. There are MPs who waste your time, who post these obscene articles, who get things published in the BBC that apparently they've been manipulating evidence to create a no-go zone for Jewish people. It is insane. Did you know that Belfast City Hall erected a Palestinian flag? Someone made a legal bid to have it ruled, and a judge just ruled against it. No, I didn't know that, but that's awesome.
Members of the local and wider Muslim community subsequently reacted and deliberately then, on the day after mainly, attacked Maccabi fans on match day, both before the match and after the match, as Lord Mann has made reference to. That's what we were told. The Dutch commanders were unequivocal. They would never want to have Maccabi Tel Aviv playing in Amsterdam again in the future. That was what they said to our Chief Inspector.
Like, listen to this. And apparently, like, they are saying, apparently, no. We've all been lied to. Oh, they're actually just doing these, things because they all hate Jews. It's so insane. There's this account here as well, which posted videos from Ultras Maccabi of them, like, going ready to fight, and you can see it here. Do you remember as well, one of the things was like some kid had just happened to be making a football video there, this little Dutch kid, and his video showed exactly what was claimed, that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans were the ones behaving incredibly violently. I can't read that. Jammer dat geen video zien waarop de terroristen een bestie blootgeslagen worden en zo. Amen. Ze zullen verdwijnen van die verveld met deze overbodig. So, whatever that means, yeah. It's genuinely just amazing. It's genuinely just amazing that this is like what is going on. That all of these people are just wasting our time where we have to hear about how no, actually Jews aren't allowed to do anything in the UK.
This is very important. Is that
we literally heard. Listen to this bit again.
On Wednesday the 1st.
They specifically targeted members of the Muslim community deliberately. These are the words of the police commissioner under intense pressure. Under intense pressure. And there were people who claimed that this decision was being taken. This decision was taken because there are no-go areas for Jews in the UK. Just amazing things are happening in this country. Amazing things are happening in this country. That these pro-Israel MPs just get to waste so much of our time, drum up yet another story about how they are targeted, like poor Jewish people are targeted, when it is literally just Israeli extremists who sung about there being no schools in Gaza.
And with the chief inspector, who is...
Like, listen to this.
Then on Wednesday the 1st of October, and this is very important, is that I sat down with the chief inspector, who is our planning expert, who had spoken to the 3 Dutch police commanders. And this really, panel, is where the difference occurs between what Lord Manners said and the information that was provided to the chief inspector. And the information provided from the Dutch was very, very clear in terms of they reflected on the days before, during and after the match as a result of clashes between the Maccabi ultras and the local Muslim community. The police in Amsterdam...
Oh, wait, this is the one we already saw. Sorry. But yeah, they basically stated that they'd spoken to this, and there's a...
As a result of the Muslim community, the police in Amsterdam...
Wait, I want to see Lord John Mann talking about something. But yeah, him saying that they would never, ever, ever want these violent thugs in Amsterdam again is just amazing.
Wasn't the big issue because that didn't happen.
Based on the Amsterdam incidents. Like, listen to this. This is the Hasbara defense currently. Like, we all saw the videos of them. How come? Please just explain. What are you asking? Aaron, come on, though. Who are you talking to? I don't know what you're talking about. Yesterday, at the Parliament meeting about the banning of Israeli fans, Lord John Mann gave a scathing critique. Police made a big deal about Maccabi fans being a risk to the local community. What? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not trying to be anything at all. I just want you to explain why people are supposed to be just free human beings and supposed to be free. Are you high or like, what are these questions? But there were no arrests of Israelis for attacks on locals, and no fans went into Muslim communities.
Suggestion that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans were going around Amsterdam trying to find local people, specifically from the Muslim community, going, quotes, into Muslim areas, didn't happen. Wasn't the...
But, like, why do you think the police are then saying this?
They had talked with their ultra groups, and their ultra groups wouldn't be going. Now, that's part of... You can't stop...
But I think that the other problem is that it is not just gonna be the ultras. People like singing these songs. There are Israeli soldiers amongst them. Like, I'm sorry, it's such a terrible situation. I don't think Israelis should be anywhere near Europe. I don't think anyone who served in the Israeli military should be coming to Europe.
Well, you can, but it's very hard to stop individuals going. But for an ultra group to go, an ultra group will organise their own transport. That means a charter plane from Israel. So they'll organise their own transport over. They go as a group. Ultra culture is about collective watching of football, and
amazing. It's about ultra culture. The focus on Maccabi as the source of the problem was such a red herring. The club only had one fine in the past 25 years.
Stuff in the report simply doesn't match the Amsterdam reports, and I think the evidence has been fitted to try and get a solution, which is a solution.
It's mad as well that this statement defines a BBC headline.
Because obviously you don't have the Israeli fans, there's no conflict. But there's an easier, better solution, which would have been simply to force a separation of the fans. And I think the Aston Villa fans, if asked, would have said, well, that'll be a better atmosphere, we'd rather have it.
But let's be frank here. Of course, having people who are going to chant about killing children, who are going to gleefully gloat about the killing of children, are maybe not the best people to have in your country. Like, at all. Like, it's just not true that this would be like a normal or a good idea to bring in Israelis who are fans of this stuff.
Let's say, I suspect.
He also said, this is the other defence, Chief Constable of West Midlands Police Craig Guilford just said that in Parliament that the Dutch police caved to local pressure and changed their report on what happened to Israeli football fans.
There was lots of, let's say, pressure locally on the Dutch police as a result of this match. My very careful conclusion from looking at everything and listening to what people have said, and indeed listening this afternoon to what Lord Mann said, is that I think initially the Dutch probably underestimated the level of threat and risk. And the day before the match, they were extremely stretched. The day of the match, they deployed an absolute abundance of riot-trained police. And I think the whole incident left them in a position whereby they hadn't anticipated the level of disorder, and also in terms of one side's approach.
Didn't happen. Are you saying they're now in denial? So that you're saying they didn't anticipate this, it happened, and now they're in denial. Is that what you're telling us?
I'm not saying that they're in denial, but you, with respect, you would have to ask them their version of events.
I really don't know what you're saying there. So we're looking at the West Midlands Police.
We weren't advised.
We're looking at this, and I mean, we all saw this. We all saw, like, what happened there. Like, unbelievable.
The ultras weren't coming. We didn't have intelligence that said to us the ultras weren't coming through that process. We didn't have that actual specific intelligence. So when I've listened to Lord Mann earlier, that was the first time I've heard someone say that, oh, the ultras aren't coming, you know, because the club told me they're not coming. That wasn't information.
Didn't you speak to the clubs? I mean,
yeah, of course, yeah, we were speaking.
Maccabi Tel Aviv were telling Lord Mann that.
I was never meant to debate Lonerbox today. Who's he debating? Alex Doyle? Who's Alex Doyle? I don't know who Alex Doyle even is. I thought about doing it. I'd messaged him, but I told him I wasn't well. Alec Gunter, sorry.
Right? They know that they at least have to appear as though they are fighting for the defense of Gazans, right?
Who's Alec Gunter? I don't know who he is. I don't know, but I wasn't supposed to debate him today, but I mean, I don't know.
Why did they not say it to you?
Well, I don't know why that was not.
Yeah, this video really needs a Bandicam. No, I was just sick over the weekend, and obviously I have to prep for the thing with Isaac on Saturday. And my girlfriend gets here on Friday, so, you know.
Said to us, when were we told that they weren't coming?
But yeah, I mean...
Recommendation to the local authority around safety certificates and licences.
None of these people are, like, unbiased, you know?
Pressure. Was there any exploration?
But this is their main evidence. This is probably the last thing I need to listen to.
Exploration of that assumption that they're under pressure to present a very different picture to your Chief Inspector than to what was the reports that we have had.
Absolutely, and that's why I went to speak to him. What do you want to elaborate on?
I can hopefully help a little bit. So our Chief Inspector Head of Policing football unit within the West Midlands Police met with the three Dutch commanders, the gold, silver and bronze. So within football or public order policing, forgive me, you have a gold strategic, tactical, silver and a bronze operational commander. He met with those three commanders in an informal, unrecorded meeting in an effort to get candour and a view in relation to their experience of policing this particular football match. They specifically referenced the political and press pressure and interest, and provided a verbal briefing to our commander, who then documented that in an email and sent it into the command chain. So that was the first part. Since then, clearly we've had the Sunday Times article, etc., whereby Sebastian Mayer has naysayed some of the elements within the WMP report. I've since spoken to Peter Holler, the Gold Commander, and Sebastian Mayer from the Dutch police, and they are very clear they're under a lot of pressure, in their words, from City Hall. So, and their position as reported to the Sunday Times was, we don't recognise this, we don't recognise that, we don't recognise this. Subsequently, then, I'm led to believe they've now released a further statement with more detail, and it is very clear they seem rather apologetic to us as a force and are trying their best to provide something that is meaningful and helpful and accurate. But I think it's probably fair to say, as a West Midlands Police Commander in the West Mids who was not involved in Ajax, there is definitely some interpretation about what happened in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I think we're going to leave this here. It wasn't as interesting as a story as I kind of hoped, because I guess there's so much of a prerequisite to actually talk about it. But yeah, I did just message Lonerbox and say I would. Some of you said not to debate him on history. Well, I think what I really want to talk to him about is I don't really think facts matter in debates. I think I've told you all of that before. I think what matters is talking about like the overarching thing of like what we care about and why. And like why any of this matters. So yeah, that's what I'm interested in doing. Nice to see you, Silent Scythe. So yeah, mods are away. Everyone guzzle. No, not a chance right now. Yeah. Anyway, so what I now want to talk about is Israel's invasion of Syria. Now, this happened a few days ago. It was a major Israeli incursion into Beit Jin, which is an area that was conquered inside Israel by Syria inside Israel. That's a bit of a Freudian slip. I mean, everything's inside Israel now. But yeah, there's an amazing map of this. Only debate him on history. Yeah. No, 100%. I don't want to have a discussion about a crater. Okay, I need you to read the quote tweet and then appreciate that the serious incident which killed 13 Syrians happened in Beit Jin. So 13 Syrians were killed, and it was inside the pink zone occupied by Israel a year ago, which is next to the 1974 buffer zone, which is next to the Golan Heights occupied by Israel in 1967. So Beit Jin is here, basically. It is very far inside Syria, as you can see. Israel has taken huge amounts of the Golan Heights already. It's illegally occupied under international law, but not according to Mr. Donald Trump. It's just not the case. But yeah, so this is the area where this occurred. Israel's occupation of Syrian territory. The Israeli army is expanding its occupation in southern Syria, including rural areas south of Damascus, the capital, as well as the Dara and Quneitra provinces, in violation of the 1974 Disengagement of Forces Agreement. This would be, like, the thing is Israel could just withdraw. Like, Israel doesn't need this. Apparently, Assad was willing to make a peace deal with Israel in the 2000s, and that Olmert really didn't do anything. Hold on. Let me pull up my research the other day. I'd not heard much about this, because obviously Israel-Syria has not been one of my main focuses. So this is published in Merip by Joel Binen, who is someone whose name I've definitely heard before. But yeah, anyway, they talk here about how Syrian subsequently affirmed publicly his willingness to negotiate peace with Israel. Olmert rebuffed these overtures. Kunzler is a Swedish name. Chris has an awesome relative. It's a Swiss name, not a Swedish name. But yeah, according to this, and this post here, apparently, Assad was willing to make peace, and that Olmert really didn't take major steps on it. Yeah, both of Secretary Rice's, yeah. It's a very interesting topic. But basically, what was required was that Israel would withdraw from the 67 territory. But Israel's claim is that it would be used as a launching pad to attack Israel. But I think that this kind of push here shows you that it is not the case. That the reason that Israel does this is because it's interested in territory. This is Guy Azriel, who's the Hebrew correspondent for Israeli 24 News, so amazing guy. After last night's serious incident in Syria, Israel has delivered a tough message to the Syrian regime. A senior security source tells I24 News forces linked to the Syrian president may have been involved in the incident that wounded 13 IOF troops. The source warns that the incident proves that Israel cannot allow hostile actors to entrench near its border, and that Syria is too unstable to advance any security agreement. Most importantly, the threat reinforces why Israel says it cannot withdraw from the areas it controls, especially in Mount Hermon. It's kind of like Israel's position on... It is utterly ridiculous. Glazy? I don't know what that means. But thank you, Nazaria, for the €2. Is that some Swiss word? I don't know. Marcus, have they considered... Oh, yeah, I have seen this debacle, by the way, over the park being named after Chaim Herzog. Why there's a park in Ireland named after Chaim Herzog is beyond me. But then again, we have places named after, you know, diplomats in the UK. But yeah. Does it mean greetings or greets? Gletzi. Is it like a Swiss word for hello? It's hello in Swiss German. Hallo aus England. As we reported last week, the Israel-Syria security deal is drifting further out of reach amid Damascus's demands for a full Israeli pullout from the buffer zone and the Hermon Crown, despite US pressure to move forward. A senior diplomatic source tells us talks had already slowed after Derma stepped back, and Israel was clear, no full withdrawal, certainly not in one phase. Today, this deal seems even more remote than we previously organized. Amazing stuff. Israel refuses to withdraw and then complains that Palestinians and also Syrians and anyone stands up and fights back against them. It occupies land and then claims that it needs to occupy more land for security, when it probably could have got a peace deal if it had given up the Golan Heights. But yeah, there was an article by Joshua Landis talking about this topic. And by the way, I don't think that we should advocate over and over again for his name, for al-Shara. So the incident in Beit Jin was that basically Israelis launched an incursion into Beit Jin, and the locals responded and resisted. So in response, Israel carried out a massacre of 13 locals, and a few Israeli soldiers were wounded. You know, like, I'm sorry, I just don't think I can sit here and act as if, like, this is normal in any capacity.
Residents, officials, dignitaries from nearby villages have come to pay their respects. 13 people.
Here's a video for the background.
Residents, officials, dignitaries from nearby villages have come to pay their respects. 13 people were killed here after an Israeli military raid in the early hours of Friday morning. A quiet village transformed into a front line overnight. Bullet shells still litter the narrow streets. Walls are scarred with gunfire, shrapnel lies scattered across the school playground. And Beit Jin is now reeling from an operation residents say involved Israeli soldiers on the ground, drones overhead, artillery fire and...
It's just so mad that this is considered a ceasefire. Israel claims that there are Houthis in Syria, does it?
Airstrikes.
We were all sleeping and woke to gunfire. At first we thought it was a wedding celebration. Then we saw the Israeli soldiers. There was an explosion and I was hit in the leg. We heard them screaming. Some were wounded and they were pulled up to a helicopter with a rope.
Villagers say Israeli forces also detained several men, which Damascus condemns as abductions.
My 2 cousins and my neighbor were taken by the Israelis. I saw them from my window. Then the soldiers started firing at my house.
It's really amazing as well, because I don't really understand any logic beyond Israel just taking huge amounts of land. Like, I don't understand the logic, because the only thing that he's demanding, al-Shara is demanding, is not the Golan Heights. He says that Israel needs to withdraw to the pre-December 8th borders. Like, that's what Israel needs to do. And let's be real here. There is not like a major threat coming out of Syria. There is not like an organized major enemy to Israel. And yet they're unwilling to withdraw to the pre-December 8th borders. Like, it doesn't make sense as any kind of policy, does it? Al-Shara said Tuesday that a final peace deal between Israel requires Israel's withdrawal to pre-December 8th borders, emphasizing that the US and Israel and several international partners back Syria's position. This is also, by the way, why Israel is such a major problem and should be seen as a problem for all conservative Americans. Like, this is just going against you having this, like, regional stability and also pushing out way more American influence over the MENA region, like getting to rebuild this with, like, you know, al-Shara as the dictator. The Syrian leader accused, Shara said Washington and several international actors support Syria's perspective in this regard, adding that US President Donald Trump supports our perspective as well, and he will push as quickly as possible in order to reach a solution. Wow. The Syrian leader accused Israel of expansionist ambitions, saying it had carried out over 1,000 airstrikes on Syrian territory since December 8th, when Bashar al-Assad, who ruled Syria for nearly 25 years, fled to Russia, ending the Ba'ath Party's rule since 1963. Because we want to rebuild Syria, we didn't respond to those aggressions. Shara's remarks came after a historic meeting on Monday with Trump at the White House, the first visit by a Syrian leader since the country's independence nearly 80 years ago. The visit marked a major shift in relations as Damascus seeks the full lifting of Caesar sanctions on Syria, which were imposed in 2019 to the Assad regime's hostilities. I mean, they have to completely demilitarize. They have to give up huge amounts of land to Israel. But, like, do you not see, like, why this is just an example and emblematic of why no one will support Israel at a point to come? And I mean, you know what? We actually missed this, but my girlfriend will be very disappointed because she loved this clip. This is when Trump met him.
This is men's fragrance. Hold it. Yeah. This is it. No. It's the best fragrance. Come here, man.
I have more here, sir.
Okay. So what we'll do is just take that, Joe, put it in, and then the other one is for your wife. How many wives? One.
That is insane. Like, that is insane. That he sits there and says this, that he's just like to the Syrian leader who has to sit there and smile. How many wives you got? One? There was literally a video as well the other day. There was literally I've forgotten what I was going to say. Wait, it's probably in here. There was a video of an MI5 guy talking about how they'd like rehabilitated al-Shara's image. I'll see if I can find it. Hold on. But yeah, Trump doing this with al-Shara is amazing. Well, Jolani, as he's really called. I really wish I could find this now. But his image was like undeniably.
The fact is that we were on different sides when I was commanding.
There was a video which I had, and I wish I could find, of al-Shara's image about like how a guy talked about himself. No, don't call him Jelani, wear a suit and all of this stuff to rehabilitate what people think of you. But yeah, Trump is a cute little diva, and it is a very, very gay Trump clip.
You guys never know, right?
There was some very incredible stuff when he met al-Shara, actually.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Fox.
Will you discuss the Abraham Accords when you meet?
President. Right.
This was even gayer, though, so I think you should probably bite your tongue on that topic.
The Syrian president.
Right. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy.
Young, attractive guy, tough guy.
Yeah. Strong pass. Very strong pass.
It is amazing just how quickly these people are turned around and rehabilitated. And by the way, you know what? I was a little skeptical at first because my knowledge on Syria isn't so good. And I think I kind of fell into listening to some people who were not trustworthy on Palestine, on Syria. One of the really interesting things is that a few months ago, and this is one of the reasons why I'd say, hey guys, maybe don't eulogize this guy. I remember I read this article, or I was going to read this when I was streaming like months ago, and I never actually finished it. I'm not going to read it because it's very long. This article basically suggests that Syrian forces massacred 1,500 Alawites. The chain of command led to Damascus. So Reuters did a very long investigation into Ahmed al-Shara. Now, what they found was that he may have not given the orders, and he may have been like, oh, it's bad what happened there, but that people near him and the brigades who were promoted amongst HTS who were promoted from HTS were pretty fucking bad. The Ottoman brigades, these are people who've long been accused of really, really horrible violence. There's also a claim in here, which I don't know if I should repeat because I feel like it'll get me in trouble, but I guess I say things like difficult stuff all the time. Listen to this. This is how it opens. The men who killed 25-year-old Suleiman Rashid Saad called his father from the young victim's phone and dared him to fetch the body. It was next to the barber shop. His chest was wide open. They cut out his heart. They put it on top of his chest, said his father, Rashid Saad. It was late afternoon on March 8th in the village of Al-Rufasa. The killings of Alawites were nowhere near over. If you want to read this article, what it basically claims is figures who were very near this guy were ordering this kind of stuff. That they did not care who they were killing. That it was, yes, it was kind of revenge against Alawites. That, you know, undeniably Alawites had engaged, certain people had been part of the security regime. It came as a result of an uprising. But a lot of this slaughter was just thousands of people being slaughtered. And, you know, we view October the 7th as like, wow, look what happened here. But like Western nations have basically said nothing about this. Guys who were terrorists not long ago carrying out a massacre like this was basically just papered over. I haven't read enough about the Druze, and it is not necessarily that al-Shara is like ordering this. The problem is that al-Shara does not have strong enough control over Syria, basically. And so what he has done is he has allied with militias who are willing to engage in mass sectarian killings. And they talk about how actually the killings of Alawites went on after this. That they were not something that ended specifically with the situation in after this, you know, uprising. And yeah, there are some really, really, really horrifying things in there. And there were talks about how al-Shara was going to respond, but it was literally just a mass murder spree. But yeah, but this is what Israel's complaining about. While the world, specifically the democratic West, gives the new Syrian government leeway, it would be incumbent on the Syrian authorities to disallow displays of hatred. We don't like when people burn our flag. It is deeply concerning when done by supporters of the new Syrian government while waving the flag dubbed that of Free Syria. A new Syria cannot be built on old hatred. Yeah, and also, by the way, I think that this will be hard for Jolani al-Shara to deal with. I thought that this would be his biggest problem to begin with. I thought he would maintain a similar position to... Like, Assad has not fought that heavily against Israel. And even after October the 7th, there were a few rockets launched against Israel, but they kind of just fell off. They kind of just were stopped, and seemingly they were stopped by, you know, they were stopped by him.
Residents say young men frustrated by repeated incursions tried to resist. 6 Israeli soldiers were reportedly injured. Israel responded with more artillery and airstrikes. Even the mosque's minaret was damaged. Inside one home, Ghazwan Hamada says his family narrowly survived.
I have nothing but this house. I live here with my 8 children and care for an orphan girl. We heard drones, then helicopters and warplanes. A rocket hit this room. We hid in the next room. Artillery also shelled the village. We have no fighters, no militants, no weapons here.
The attack has sent shockwaves across Syria, a country trying to rebuild after a 14-year civil war and re-establish stability under a new administration.
People here say the small community has been torn apart by Israeli military incursions. After the fall of the Bashar al-Assad regime, they thought it would be a time of stability. Instead...
Thank you, Longshot KDB. I will get a coffee, although neither of us drink it, but thank you for the £10. I'll get myself a cup of tea, and she can have some kind of ridiculously fancy drink or something. By the way, it won't affect streaming, and if anything, they'll be better, because someone who... Yeah, because I'll be able to, you know, be focused on specifically doing it in the week. You can't burn the flag of the country, dropping large bombs all over your country and continually denies your own country and works to undermine it. It's also amazing. No, it will cover a coffee. It's a very kind donation. Thank you. It's really amazing, though, that, like, once again, we can literally read that Ahmed al-Shara is willing to make peace with Israel if they just withdraw. He's not asking for the Golan Heights back. He will normalize probably with the state of Israel in return for, you know, in return for getting... you know, just Israel to leave them alone and sanction relief, most likely. But yeah, of course, English man drinks tea. Yeah, of course I do. Let me guess, matcha. No. Ladies only know shopping, labubus, and matcha. Would you say that the rockets went floppy? It's a major problem, floppy rockets.
They face a new aggression, Israeli aggression on Syrian territory.
There are growing calls on the government to respond.
My 2 brothers, my sister-in-law, and my 2 nephews were killed. I call on the government to protect its people. The Israelis entered our village many times. People defended themselves, but they need someone to defend them too.
Residents fear more raids, and for a government focused on rebuilding unity, peace, and sovereignty, Israel's actions may become its greatest challenge.
I really want to see... Hold on, I want to try and see if I can find this. I'm going to find this, in fact. No, it won't be there. It must be here, I think. But yeah, we'll go back to watching the other video and I'll find this. Oh, whoops. There we go. Oh, wait. This is not the video. Hold on. Sorry, I've got too many tabs open now. This is a good summary as well of what's happening.
Well, Sarah, Israel does not justify what happened in Syria per se, because the Israeli doctrine right now is extraterritorial. The Israeli army, the Israeli government believe that Israel has the right to act within other countries' sovereign territory, whether that's Syria, Lebanon, or anywhere else. The controversy right now in Israel is that this operation was carried out after weeks of preparation. It started around 3 in the morning. The objective was to detain 2 brothers, and instead of just detaining them or abducting them as Syrians view it.
Yeah, I think you make a really strong point there, Unfollow Your Dreams. What is wrong with these people? I think that Islam is maybe the problem here, that like all of these people are just crazed Islamic fanatics who for some reason just don't like Israel. I don't know though. Really want to find this fucking video.
They clashed with the local residents, with the residents of Beijing, the Syrians there. And the Israeli Air Force had a hard time responding or protecting the troops on the ground because there was such close proximity between the soldiers and the residents of Beijing. 6 Israeli soldiers, including 2 officers, have been injured. And that's where the controversy in Israel is. How did that happen?
It's also amazing to just listen. That's where the controversy is. And she's talking about it. How did 6 Israeli soldiers get injured? That's what they're upset about.
How did the soldiers get injured? Not the fact that Israel is operating deep into Syrian territory.
And I'm not making fun of her, but yeah, just talking about what it is.
Less than 100 kilometers away from Damascus.
All right, Noor O'Day, thank you very much for your reporting there from Ramallah. Now, let's go to Noor O'Day. Noor, you're following developments on this from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Give us the Israeli point of view on this.
Well, Sarah, Israel does not justify what happened.
Oh, it's a repetition of the same video. I am really, really trying my best to find this fucking video about how... wait. Yeah, I'm going to find it here. Yes, here we go. I finally found it. Watch this video. It's just amazing. That's why I couldn't find it, because it's MI6.
Starting in 2023, a British non-government organization...
Wait. I'll find it on YouTube, because this is quiet.
They're Christian... which specializes in conflict resolution. Called Mosul. For Americans who were in Iraq, you might remember Mosul was one of the worst, nastiest places. The State Department actually lost 5 diplomatic personnel in 2 different car bombs up in Mosul during that time, and hundreds of American soldiers were killed or injured up in that Mosul area by this guy and his fighters. So
it really is amazing how, like, arbitrary this whole thing is with just terrorists, you know. They're like, Jelani is undeniably responsible for, like, multiple killings. And then you can just hear, yeah, the former US ambassador to Syria and Iraq. Wait until you hear what he says. It is amazing.
Starting in 2023, a British non-government...
But the goon platoon couldn't get to him, no.
...organization, which specializes in conflict resolution, invited me to help them bring this guy out of the terrorist world and into regular politics. And at first, I have to tell you, I was very leery of going. I sort of had images of me in an orange jumpsuit with an...
The thing I don't really understand, though, is... Acre software took down Assad. There was this really interesting article that came out ages ago, which didn't really get much attention. And I'm not going to read it because it is long. It's a 20-minute read, apparently. I have read this, though. But it's basically about how a cyber attack exploited vulnerabilities and may have changed the course of the war. Basically, Syrian soldiers in the army were offered like $20 to download this app, and all of a sudden what happened was that they were like basically just sharing their information, and it's apparently why the regime fell apart so quickly, in part because they were underpaid and people had lost interest because there was no return seemingly for killing and oppressing unless you were obviously at the very top. But like where this came from, I don't know. It's not mentioned who it's from, like at all. Like, yeah. In January 2020, a mobile phone left behind by a Syrian soldier inside a Russian-made Palantir S-1 air defense vehicle helped to turn the entire system into a fireball. Israeli forces tracked the phone's location, pinpointed the battery's location, and launched a swift airstrike. Now, what I'm saying confuses me. Is this kind of like a operation? You can read it if you want. This kind of operation, to me, smacks of Israeli or Emirati influence in the region. But al-Shara is Turkey's guy. Like, when the earthquake struck the earthquake in Idlib, when was this? I remember reading this. So in 2023, yeah, I just didn't want to get it wrong. So in 2023, so before he became this, you know, like major revolutionary figure inside Syria, there was this earthquake that hit where he ruled over in in Syria, basically, in Idlib specifically, which was the small part that he ruled over. And he refused to give up anything. Sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. Let me just get this straight. He refused to allow aid to go into the areas unless it came from Turkey. He refused to allow the Syrian government to do anything because he didn't want them to have any legitimacy and to be able to win the hearts of his people, and he wanted it to come from Turkey. There are many groups who are now integrated into his army who are related to Turkey, and Sunni Islamists generally receive much heavier support from Turkey. In the context of the counter-revolutionary movement by the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, they have always been against people like this, people who are Sunni Islamists, and al-Shara is exactly that. So why the UAE would be so interested in this is genuinely beyond me. And okay, maybe I don't know much about Turkish cyber capabilities apart from the fact that they're hacking the Israeli government. Turkey are amazing in this context. Turkey were saying that they were like bombing ISIS and they just bombed the Kurds the whole time. It is unbelievable stuff.
Knife to my throat. But after talking to several people who had gone in, and one of whom had met him, I decided to take the chance. And so the first time I met him, this guy's name is nom de guerre, was Abdulkader Jolani, but his actual name is Ahmed Shara, which he only revealed to the world after he captured Damascus in the Blitzkrieg of December 2024, about 5 months ago. First time I met him, I sat down next to him, and I'm literally as close as I am to Roy, and I said, this is all in Arabic, I said, never in a million years could I imagine that I would be sitting next to you. Long beard, in fatigues. And he looked at me, he speaks very softly, and he said, Wallah ana, me neither. And we went on and actually had a pretty civil conversation. I share this because he said something which really piqued my interest. He never apologized for the terrorist attacks in Iraq or in Syria, although there were many fewer in Syria. Never apologized. But he also said, you know, now I am governing an opposition-held area of northwest Syria, and I am learning that the tactics and the principles that I was following in Iraq do not apply when you actually have to govern 4 million people.
But this is also to me, something very difficult to confront or listen to, because like it's very clear that in order to form a broad base and to control Syria, the thing that he needs is to appeal to these Islamists still. Like, I'm sorry, you can't just do away with that almost instantaneously when, okay, maybe HTS have been making themselves a more legitimate government entity, but yeah, that the Kurds are terrorists. Me correcting that the Kurds are terrorists. What? The Kurds are terrorists? What do you mean the Kurds are terrorists? Turkey is definitely not a country that everyone can trust. I'm going to be frank with you. Turkey is not a country that I would highly recommend trusting. Like, undeniably, they focus most of their efforts on bombing Kurds rather than bombing ISIS.
And they had 2 million residents of that area of Syria, and then another 2 million refugees who had come there from other parts of Syria. So they had a population of 4 million. He said, I am learning that to govern, you have to make compromises. I was very struck by that. So that was in March 2023, just over 2 years ago.
The Kurds have suffered from all sides forever. Yes, I mean, in many ways. The Kurds are also used like a political pawn, I'm not going to lie, and it's bad for Kurds, like, generally. In the sense of, like, Kurds are often framed as, like, Western-backed rabble-rousers and all of these things. But yeah, no. Like, it's a very unfortunate situation. We're proxies of Israel to manifest Israeli interest, but now they're backfired and the bots turned on the agents, Syrians being used as cheap tools for Israel. I'm not sure I quite believe that, because obviously there was, like, upset and a lack of trust to do with, you know, the Syrian government, and there was undeniably popular sentiment that was against Assad. Like, that did exist, yes. What I do think happened is, yes, there were bad actors and that Western governments had no positive interest in the Middle East. They didn't have positive interest in these countries genuinely being democratic. They didn't have positive interest in the Syrians ruling themselves. What it looks like more was Turkey was very interested by the end in establishing someone who would be very sympathetic to Turkish interests. But the problem is that now Israel is just unwilling to give up land. Part of this also, by the way, is to do with messianism. The Israeli government, since 1967, have had this major problem that it's really hard to push through a pragmatic solution because a huge amount of the right-wing base in Israel views any military victory or significant military gain as a gift from God, and therefore if the secular state undermines it, then therefore it will basically be an affront to God. No, someone wanted to tell me the Kurds are terrorists, and, like, if you meet Kurds, there are many people who are not like that, you know, who are not just engaged in militancy for the sake of militancy, and most of it is a struggle to just have basic rights in countries that continually deny them. Like, when I was in Istanbul, it's genuinely shocking how little presence of Kurds there are for, is it the biggest Kurdish population in the Middle East?
We went back a second time in September. And, I forgot to mention, both times I went, we also met the Syrian Christian communities up in those areas. Many had fled, most had fled, but there were still some Christians there. We asked them, how's life? How, you know, this guy's a jihadi, how is it? And they said, the guy who is now the bishop of Aleppo, Syria's second largest city, at the time was not the bishop, but he was kind of their spokesman. He said, you know, it was a lot worse 5 or 6 years ago. It's much better now because his people are more disciplined, and they are actually beginning to return houses that were seized from us. They are beginning to return agricultural lands.
Yeah, I mean, also, by the way, this is just horrifying as well, because, like, I don't doubt that Jelani definitely did put, like, the brakes on, you know, engaging in, like, the most extreme aspects of sort of Salafi ideology, but a lot of the people around him, no. And, like, when they've conquered Syria, you can already see the problem against Alawites and also the Druze, which I didn't get to study as much because I wasn't necessarily like reading around it as much, and I should have probably to prep for this stream. But yeah, like, no, like the Reuters traced it to basically people very close to him
that were seized from us during the worst of the fighting of the Civil War. We went back in September to see how that was going. Were they still getting their lands back? And we met the now Bishop Hannah, and we met probably 20 other Christian people in the room. And we said, how's it going? And they said, all of our houses have been returned. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. How many houses are returned? And they said about 50. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty good. And I said, what about the agricultural lands? And they said, all pieces have been returned except one. And I said, well, what's with the one? And they said, we don't know exactly, but there's some kind of a dispute about it. So before we left Idlib that time, I asked him, I said, what's with the one piece of land hasn't been returned? What are your staff telling you about it? And he said, I know what you're talking about. And he said, it's been seized by one of our armed groups. He was in the head of the coalition. I said, well, how come it hasn't been returned? He said, well, we're trying to convince them. I thought, trying to convince them? You're like, you're the guy with the guns. Tell them. I said to him in Arabic, compel them, ijbarhum. And he said, I would rather do this politically rather than pick a fight, armed fight with this group.
Yeah, once again, like rehabilitating his image in this way. The problem is okay, maybe he's changed that way, but you're kind of ignoring who is the prerequisite of being able to do this. Like, what does it basically require for you to be able to do this and to actually have power? And a big part of that is, well, allying with far more extreme elements. The thing is, a lot of people don't like to think about is that you can't wear white gloves during a revolutionary war. Why can't you wear white gloves? Turkey has a lot of trust of a lot of the MENA populations. When people from there living in the UK find out I'm part Turkish, they're always surprised I dislike Erdogan. Yeah, Erdogan is a very corrupt authoritarian.
Why am I telling you this long story? Because now in Syria, if you're following the news, you would know that there was killings up in the Mediterranean coast in March with the minority Alawite community, and there's been fighting just outside of Damascus the last few days. Shara has sent in, this guy, has sent in forces, but he is not opening fire and attacking militias that are only loosely under his command, nor is he attacking militias that are rejecting the rule of Damascus. He's trying to bring people into rooms and talk to them.
They killed 1,500 people. Oh my God.
This is not the way Al-Qaeda is supposed to run the world. No, I'm not kidding. Tony Blinken called me in December when the government fell, and
this is just categorically untrue. Like, categorically untrue. Amazing stuff. Yeah, I like this comment. The bragging is embarrassing because it's such an obvious move, simple move to put him in a suit and have him say all the right platitudes. The real trick is degrading our standards to the level that this is just mutely accepted. Yeah, I mean, just terrible things are afoot, and it doesn't help that, like, you have Amichai Chikli tweeting like this, because it does show you, by the way, why compromise with Israel is almost impossible. The Beit Jin incident is no longer merely an encounter in the field, but a formative event marking the beginning of the new era. On the night between Thursday and Friday of last week, a force from the 55th Reserve Brigade carried out a raid into Syrian territory in the village of Beit Jin with the aim of arresting two brothers, senior activists in Jemaah Islamiyah, who had planned rocket fire and the planting of explosives against the Golan Heights in the northern Galilee. By the way, you're occupying their land, shut up. In the early morning hours after carrying out the arrest, the force fell into a planned ambush. Accurate fire was opened on it from several locations, and a full-fledged battle ensued that lasted about an hour and a half. The force acted with bravery, completed this mission, and sustained several wounded, to whom I wish a speedy recovery. This is the first time since December 2024 that an Israeli force has encountered such organized resistance on this scale from local Syrian Sunni elements, and not from Shiite militias under Iranian control. Genuinely, how does How does al-Shara go about addressing this? Because the amount of legitimacy of just, we're going to normalize relations with Israel so they don't occupy our land and kill you anymore, and that's it, is just amazing. The official response of the al-Jilani regime... Oh, no, sorry. The critical point, the attacking force is not a known Lebanese organization, but dozens of jihadists from the al-Qaeda regime of al-Jilani. The official response of the al-Jilani regime in Damascus leaves no room for doubt. The foreign ministry called the IOF operation a barbaric Zionist aggression. Yes, the information ministry and the presidential spokesman praised the heroic resistance of the residents of Beit Jin and defined it as a national model for confronting the occupation. In Damascus, Suwaida, and Dara, spontaneous demonstrations were held under the banner, Beit Jin is the pride of Syria. Imagine this. Once again, Israelis are so deranged that the only thing that they get upset, well, the things that they get upset over are people saying, hey, we'd rather not be occupied. You're occupying their land, shut up, should be on the soundboard. One day when I get round to making the soundboard, that is a great idea to put in. But just this kind of fucking whiny message where they're talking about how, like, oh, we're targeted for occupying their land is so fucking pathetic, you know. A year ago, I warned that there is nothing to celebrate about the fall of Assad. He was a cruel tyrant, but the vacuum created could replace a familiar Shiite threat with a broad and no less dangerous Sunni jihadist threat. The Beit Jin incident, alongside the massacre of the jihad regime of HTS against the Alawites and Druze, confirm that new threat. The strategic implications are clear. The Syrian border has shifted from a state of pro-Iranian militias to a state of an open front against a Sunni jihadist terror regime with an ideological characteristics identical to those of Hamas. Well, I mean, at least he admits that the problem is just Israel occupies, because yes, that's the similarity that they share with Hamas, you know? Ugh. The al-Jilani regime is expected to position the confrontation with Israel as a central pillar in building its national legitimacy. Is it? Because it doesn't seem that way. It seems that Israel is just totally unwilling to do something. Israel is 10 kilometers from Damascus, a position of power from which they could pressure the capital. Yes, that's exactly what they mean to maintain. And yes, the amount of times that this says jihadi is a scary world is amazing. Behind al-Jilani stands Erdogan, a dictator with a declared and dangerous neo-Ottoman vision. Well, by the way, it's also very clear that a big part of this is part of an Israeli extremist position in terms of, you know, in terms of them taking more land. Like, that's the vision. What is it? What do we call it? A halachic, maniacal obsession with expansion into its neighbor's territory over peace? Damascus of 2025 is Gaza of 2008, but under terrain conditions several times more difficult, with a strategic depth of 300 kilometers, access to Mediterranean ports, and direct support from a regional power. The conclusion? We are no longer dealing with a terror organization, but with a new enemy state possessing an army and economic and strategic alliances. The IOF and the defense establishment must prepare accordingly. The conquest of the Syrian Hermon and the buffer zone was an essential move, but it must be understood with the high probability the Syrian front may develop into a significant war theater. Everyone's just responding in Hebrew. 2024, dude, you are a clown. Don't you know how to write? What did Gatto Fumidor say? The Syrians have the right to defend themselves against Israeli terror. We have enough open fronts and a shortage of fighters. People are grinding through reserves. Let them go back to the 73 ceasefire agreement and activate intelligence measures. There's a demilitarized zone there. There isn't in Gaza. That border was quiet for over 50 years. Why light it up? Neo-Ottoman vision. Bring back the Janissaries. Yeah, I mean, Drew Pavlou does not want to hear you say that. But yeah, amazing things are happening because of course they are. Israel, Israel will always just be doing amazing things when it's allowed to. But yeah, right. So, So there's more mania over these strikes. By the way, I saw someone making a great point. We'll go on to Venezuela for a bit. There's amazing mania over these strikes because someone mentioned that Obama did double tap strikes as well, which, doesn't surprise me. They were used extensively under Obama. So here you have them. During the administration of U.S. President Barack Obama, U.S. missiles hit a tent in Zawi Sidgi, a remote village in North Waziristan, in July 2012 in what was described by people on the ground as a double strike. The U.S. claimed it was targeting an alleged Al-Qaeda sanctuaries in the region. Okay, here it is. According to Amnesty International's Mustafa Kadri, who was speaking to the BBC at the time, a group of miners and woodcutters had gathered in at the tent for dinner. Moments after the first strike, when people had arrived to assist those who were hurt, a second US missile hit the same location. Local people said 18 people died in total in the two strikes. The US has never publicly confirmed that this was a double tap attack. People don't give a fuck about this. And all of these Democrats whining over this, like, yeah, of course Obama is a war criminal. All of these Democrats who feign outrage over Pete Hegseth, all they're upset about is a US politician going, kill, 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 because he's a drunk, Islamophobic, moronic racist. Like, that's the problem with this guy. They don't actually care what's happening to human beings. They literally just care that their image is being tarnished in the eyes of the world. That is all that this boils down to, straight up. Let's see what Hegseth has, let's see what Kingsley Wilson has got to say.
Like, can you talk about the autonomy that's given to the commanders who are carrying out these operations, like Admiral Bradley, to make decisions? Like in this case, I'm assuming the first strike took out the boat and any actions that followed. Can you talk about the autonomy they're given?
Absolutely. So the Secretary has been very clear in every statement that we've released about these strikes that they are presidentially directed. And the chain of command functions as it should.
God, she looks crazy.
And we make sure that commanders on the ground are taken, their positions are taken into account, and they are able to tell us and make decisions if they see things that need to be flagged. But at the end of the day, the Secretary and the President are the ones directing these strikes. And any follow-on strikes like those which were directed by Admiral Bradley, the Secretary 100% agrees with.
It's really amazing because it's gone from, oh, he didn't order them, to now apparently Hegseth agrees totally with this kind of stuff. But it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, hold on.
Cartels. Right? So
apparently a video has emerged of him bragging about it live.
The president is sending a message to other cartels, right?
A very clear one. I can tell you that was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
So
amazing things are happening over in the United States. Declare someone to be a narco-terrorist, and then it's kind of just okay to kill them. So they'd claim that he didn't know anything that had happened. But yeah, It's also, yeah, once again, it is just amazing how, like, WikiLeaks and all of these things exist where so many mass killings were shown by American politicians who are still venerated by the left. Like, all the American left and the British Western left on the whole, who claim that these guys are just going to fix everything and blah, blah, blah. It's so ridiculous. It is genuinely so ridiculous. Yeah, where is Caroline Levitt?
Tapes of the attack. We heard earlier in the show Chairman Wicker saying that he is seeking those tapes as well. What sort of action are Democrats prepared to take to try to make this happen, to getting those tapes?
Well, we hope that we can bring before the committees, bipartisan, as you said, Senator Wicker has been very much involved here, and get the top military people to testify, and we hope that they will release the tapes. You know, Hegseth is hiding something here, and he's known to be a liar. He said that the Washington Post story had no validity, and today the White House directly contradicted him that it did. And if he has nothing to hide, if he said he did nothing wrong, if he said no laws were violated, release the tapes.
Also, yeah, I really can't get over Americans being upset. Like, of course, I can get people being upset over this, but I find it really hard to just kind of care all that much about Americans thinking that Pete Hegseth is like the worst guy ever, when realistically he is just the best representative of them ever. As I said, a drunk Islamophobic racist. But Maduro's definitely doing great things over in that country. He has really got the moves. But, like, it's just, yeah.
Nicolás, eat the peace. Nicolás, eat the peace. Mira la changa esa, no tiene la changa.
In my understanding, he's not actually even very popular in Venezuela, and he did not have the legitimacy to win the previous election. Like, but the kind of thing that he stands for, the, like, I don't know what you'd call it, like the Chavez vision of, I don't know, you know, like a better Venezuela that's free from Western imperialism, that maybe that an American invasion revives that. But how does this even work? What, they go in and kill him and then the plan and everything just changes and ends and America gets the oil? There are like 35 million people who live here. It's a country almost the same size as Canada. In terms of population, obviously not like physical size. But yeah. Gang of pedophiles versus Dancing Man. Indeed. And yeah, he may well be a dictator. But the thing is that with all of these dictators, like with Assad as well, the people who wanted to remove Assad did not want Syria to be a democracy ruled by its people. They just didn't. Like, they never, ever, ever, ever wanted it to be ruled by its people. Instead, what they want it to be is some Western-backed puppet regime.
Peace, forever, forever, forever. Decirle al pueblo de Estados Unidos, no a la guerra. No queremos una guerra en el Caribe ni en Sudamérica. No. Not war. Yes, peace. No a la guerra loca. No crazy war, no. ¿Cómo se dice en inglés? Please, please, please. Yes, peace. Listen to me. Yes, peace. Peace forever. Peace forever. Peace forever. Esto se llama lenguaje tarzaneado. Tipo Tarzán sería sí, paz, sí, paz, sí, paz por siempre. Sí, paz, paz, paz. Not war, just peace. The people United States. De parte de...
No, I do not think that this is anywhere near the level of al-Suri al-Bashar. Sharbet Suri el-Najdirian Faraya. But yeah, he's up to amazing stuff. Like, whilst Trump apparently gave this guy an ultimatum to just resign or be subject to probably a military invasion, and he's just dancing. But it's just like, the whole thing is really, really interesting. Because, first of all, it's probably not true. Like, the things that they're claiming are just outrageous. There was a decent Guardian video about this.
That helps prove that the Trump administration isn't quite telling the truth about why they're increasingly targeting Venezuela. So recently we've seen the US strike alleged narco boats in the Caribbean, put a bounty on the president of Venezuela.
We've doubled his reward to $50 million.
And now we're seeing...
It's double that of Osama bin Laden, which is just amazing as well, by the way. That bin Laden had a lower reward than this.
A huge naval build-up in the area. This is all part of a massively escalating campaign by the Trump administration against Venezuela over the past few months. The US has been framing all this as an anti-drug trafficking operation in the region.
The President of the United States is going to wage war on narco-terrorist organizations.
He is...
It's also, oh God, they all look so demonic in this. Like, really, really, really terrifying. Pam Bondi looks like just awful in this image. I don't know why she looks so bad. But I think that, like, the main reason that they're actually wanting to do this is, as Petro said yesterday, of course, because they're all a gang of pedophiles, but particularly where it comes from Marco Rubio, is kind of trying to appease the base of Miami Cubans who are all like, we don't want communism, you know, in South America, so let's go destroy Maduro.
One of the largest narco traffickers in the world.
But when you look into it, that doesn't actually add up. Firstly, it doesn't look like Venezuela is a major trafficking route to the US. Fentanyl, one of the big problems for the US, which Trump claimed the targeted boats have been
stacked up with bags of white powder that's mostly fentanyl,
is not made or smuggled through Venezuela. Instead, it's thought to be coming from Mexico, while cocaine seems to mainly come through the Pacific from places like Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia, rather than on small boats through the Caribbean.
It's just amazing. Like, already 7 million people have left the country based on Donald Trump just making stuff up and brazenly talking about going to war and killing people.
Where the US has mostly been striking. The Trump administration has also accused President Nicolas Maduro of running a drug trafficking network called the Cartel of the Suns, which it this week designated a terrorist organization. But there are widespread doubts that this organization even exists.
I don't know, I've not heard this about there being doubts that it exists. Apparently it's just like basically corrupt officials who are trying to make money, which is not really that surprising in any authoritarian, like basically like illegitimate regime. It's unfortunately just something that happens.
Venezuela's government has called the designation ridiculous hogwash. Experts I've spoken to actually say that the term Cartel of the Suns is simply shorthand for the way Maduro has allowed criminal networks to operate in order to stay in power. So what is this actually about? Well, that is a much more difficult question.
Wait, I thought it's to do with... Someone may tell me wrong. Someone said it's something to do with the suns that are on their arms and badges. Absolutely, but it was Me Too dancing silly. Just legalize all drugs. Prohibition is literally never worked. I said this yesterday, but I think my stronger position is drug use really becomes problematic when people suffer with trauma. Like heroin use and stuff is problematic because usually people use it as a self-medication from trauma. So I think that you have to address societal issues and not just flood it with drugs to basically allow people to, you know, disassociate and not deal with their problems. My friend wrote about how basically cannabis is legal inside of Israel, in part because they have such strong mental health problems that blowback from their occupation and violence against Palestinians.
Has been ambiguous about.
And so I think that drugs should probably be legalized and decriminalized, but I think it's also a much like higher thing of addressing societal issues.
About his intentions, but many suspect this whole campaign is just a pretext to overthrow Maduro.
Would you like to see regime change in Venezuela?
Well, we're not talking about that, but we are talking about the fact that you had an election which was a very strange election.
Who Trump tried but failed to topple during his first term. Trump has also recently appeared to endorse the discredited conspiracy theory that Venezuela's leadership controls electronic voting systems worldwide and caused his 2020 election defeat to Joe Biden. Whatever.
Yes, Maduro was pissed and he used his power to do this. But yeah, it's just like unbelievable that this is the reality in which we live right now.
The motivations are, What we do know is that we could be on the brink of some major military action, with a seventh of the US Navy now lurking off Venezuela's coast and Maduro mobilizing fighters doing special training operations. The UN has already called the US strikes on fast boats extrajudicial executions, and left-wing politicians in Europe have warned that South America faces being plunged into a torrent of bloodshed if war actually happens.
I don't know. I think that this is a great idea, and I think amazing things are happening in the world right now. I think that this is a great idea, and trying to destabilize South America even more is definitely something that should be done. I have personally legalized drug use in my house with great results. Good for you, Marcus. I'm glad to hear it. But be careful. Obviously, this shit is addictive. What else was I going to talk about? So we got an amazing article. Actually, first of all, I just want to pull this up because this was amazing. So it's great to know that the Secretary of War, not the Defense Secretary, by the way, he's the Secretary of War.
I do take issue with is the way people characterize Ted Cruz and Donald Trump's, whether it's carpet bombing or the willingness to handcuff the enemy, is their focus is on doing whatever it takes to destroy the Islamic State, not we want to find a way to kill civilians. So carpet bombing is not target civilians. Carpet bombing is if we know where the headquarters of ISIS is in Raqqa, then we're going to bomb it, even if there happen to be some homes nearby. Or when we're looking at the fuel trucks leaving to head to Turkey to sell on the black market, we're not going to bomb them with leaflets because we think the drivers are civilian casualties. We're going to bomb the oil trucks. So I think it's a difference of disposition, for sure.
Yeah, so he's defending carpet bombing there, which he's obviously a big fan of, and we also have been getting other bangers of this guy.
We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Like him just saying this, like as if the American hands are not already untied, that they haven't just been committing war crime after war crime and no consequences. What were the consequences of the massacres in My Lai then?
No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader.
He might have been head of the goon platoon.
And it's all my E6 squad leaders ever wanted, back to that E6 rule. We let our leaders fight their formations, and then we have their back. It's very simple, yet incredibly powerful. We fight.
Yeah, this guy has been on some serious shit recently. But also, like, once again, America still was always committing war crimes. This guy is just way too brazen with it, which is what upsets most Americans. They don't care. They're just like, oh, you know, what can you do? What can you do? This guy can just do war crimes, and then because he talks about it publicly, people get upset. And look. We got the U.S. Senator of Connecticut talking about this. Let's listen to his chat.
Seth needs to resign, and if he doesn't resign, Donald Trump needs to fire him. He is a walking, talking national security embarrassment. He seems more interested in winning video pull-up contests than he does in protecting this nation. He's obsessed with the weight of his soldiers, the facial hair of his soldiers, not concerned with actually keeping the country.
Do you want to know what's something that's funny, though? Someone else who was completely obsessed with this, and you can read it from his Reddit, was Graham Plattner.
Safe. He's leaking classified information.
This guy is so sourceless as well.
Banning reporters from the Pentagon. There's no mainstream outlet right now that is telling you, the American public, what's happening inside the Department of Defense. But maybe most egregious is what we learned in the last week, that Secretary Hegseth gave a grossly illegal order, an illegal order to kill everyone.
That is literally your problem, that he just said the quiet part out loud.
Aboard this vessel in the Caribbean, an order that ended up with our military not just shooting at the boat, but then shooting at the human beings who were swimming from their lives amidst the wreckage. That is not allowed under U.S. law. It is deeply immoral. And we simply cannot protect this country adequately if we are a moral embarrassment in the eyes of the world, if we have a Secretary of Defense who is enthusiastically giving outright illegal orders to the chain of command below him. Every single day that Pete Hegseth is at the Department of Defense, this country is weaker. You are less secure. This last revelation about this grossly illegal order that he gave is just final confirmation that the United States cannot protect itself for one more day adequately with Pete Hegseth at the helm of the Department of Defense. He needs to resign, or Donald Trump needs to get rid of him today.
I think that, by the way, this is also something that I guess is the real friction point between liberals and actual leftists. The real friction point ultimately comes down to people recognizing, oh my God, Graham Plattner gave a statement. Real people, like people who are willing to recognize that this is just America, and then people who are massively upset and act as if this is some kind of aberration. I think it's like the same with like the Nazis as well. People don't want to confront that they weren't some aberration, that they were like, a political thing. And also, Sophie, you said he's a war hawk, but I did just find him saying this. I was briefed on intelligence last week. Iran posed no imminent threat of attack to the US. Iran was not close to building a deliverable nuclear weapon. The negotiations Israel scuttled with their strikes held the potential for success. Yeah, they actually did, and they were, by the way, a way better way of containing Iran's nuclear program. But let's listen to what Mr. Plattner has to say.
It looks like now the reporting is showing that
when I was a Marine, we did the war crimes in quiet.
We have possibly committed war crimes in the attacks on Venezuelan vessels. If it's true that we dropped a second bomb in order to kill survivors, that is absolutely a war crime. There needs to be an investigation. And we need to make sure that the people conducting illegal activity are held accountable. This is what I want to do in the United States Senate. I want to make sure that we use the power of the Senate
to do more war crimes,
to hold those in power in the executive branch accountable for illegal actions. At a minimum, we need to be seeing an investigation here. At a minimum, we need to see the United States Senate, the House.
You've just killed loads of people. You've just killed so many people. Come on.
Actually,
like the minimum is justice for these people.
Look into what occurred and make sure that the American people learn the truth, because if the Secretary of Defense is overseeing strikes on innocent people and then killing survivors, that is something the American people need to know.
To be fair, we learned from the best, Israel. Well, no, Israel learned from us. Have any of you ever seen this film as well? I don't know if I can show, can you watch a trailer for a film? Do any of you know? I don't know whether to do it because I feel like it will get me in trouble. There's a really good film about, American bombings called Il n'y aura plus de nuit. Il n'y aura plus de nuit. There will be no more night or light. Night.
Ces images ne sont.
Hold on. I feel like you can watch a trailer, right? You can't. Oh, fuck off. Anyway, if you want to watch it, it's really good. It's like a compilation of WikiLeaks imagery of what happened with a narrated video essay that's not that great. And it's kind of about how, in spite of them having this advanced weaponry and equipment, they were just out here committing war crimes. Someone had a brilliant, Nathan J. Robinson, who wrote a great piece about Douglas Murray in Current Affairs. You can put the link here. It's called, trailers can be shared. No, I don't know. It's the shared. You'll struggle to find it, but yeah. Well, I know that the UK, And also, by the way, it's kind of like being shocked about Gaza. Someone put it to me like this, one of my professors. He said, I don't know why people are surprised by the the Gulf monarchies and the Arab leadership being okay with what Israel is doing and not speaking up or doing anything. They already showed their position in Yemen. Many of the methods that Israel used were just carried out by Saudi Arabia in Yemen. Wait, let's have a look at this. Let's see what he's saying. Hegseth's views on Islam and Muslims are bad enough, but it gets worse. Any actions he takes against his enemy will likely be unrestrained by international law, because Hegseth has also expressed open contempt for the laws of war. In his book, American Crusade, he recalls telling his platoon to disregard the rules of engagement after they had been explained by a military attorney. I will not allow that nonsense to filter into your brains. The only nonsense that should be filtering into our brave boys' brains is just alcohol. Men, if you see an enemy who you believe is a threat, you engage and destroy that threat. Hegseth believes that it is absurd to even apply the rules and laws during war, because the war is the terrible reality that exists when all law and order has broken down, and the only thing left is force. In that time, the goal must be winning, and not public relations. Speaking of allied atrocities, like the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Hegseth's verdict is, they won, who cares? This is a great guy to be heading the State Department, openly announcing American policy for years. Hegseth sees the Geneva Convention as tying America's hands, and thinks the United States should simply disregard them. If our warriors are forced to follow rules arbitrarily and asked to sacrifice more lives so that international tribunals feel better about themselves, aren't we just better off winning our wars according to our own rules? Hegseth says that our message to Al-Qaeda, for instance, should be that unless we are met with unconditional surrender, we will rip your arms off and feed them to hogs. Wow! Of course, given Hegseth's blurring the line between ordinary Muslims and Al-Qaeda terrorists, this would probably result in a lot of innocent people having their arms fed to hogs. Is this talking about Randy Fine? Because that is offensive. Randy Fine is not a hog. And he wouldn't eat your arms. Sorry, I just spat. No, I wouldn't trust him. He's a US senator. On his Fox News show, Hegseth has defended the actions of, for example, Blackwater contractors who killed Iraqi civilians, and he repeatedly encouraged Trump to pardon convicted war criminals like Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher. That's the guy who just straight up murdered like a young ISIS fighter who was injured. If you see a threat, give it a smooch. Okay, thanks for sending it over, Sophie. In his book, Hegseth even implies that when he was in Iraq, a member of his unit conducted torture on a detainee with Hegseth's full approval. A couple of the names and identification matched our target list. Now we needed them to sing. First Sergeant Garessi earned all the rope and latitude he demanded. He did some on-site interrogation, quotation marks in original, and one of the men tossed up a name and address down the road. One former US Major General has said that it's a major problem to have someone who has condoned murder and execution in a position of ethical responsibility. Wasn't it just US policy to say that Guantanamo and everything done there was legal for years? Once again, like, it is just, if you kill brown people, it's kind of okay, you know? Like, so little care has been given to the laws of war, and it just shocks me that so many people balk at Pete Hegseth, you know? Like, yeah, he's outrageous and he's brazen with all of this shit. But it's not really surprising. Like, I'm sorry, America is a society that continually elects people who mass kill innocent people because they're from some other part of the world and they're deemed as inferior. Like, listen to this. I mean, we listened to it before.
Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Why? Because if you got a problem with that, take it up with God. He's the guy that did it, not Trump. So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II. So, as a coalition,
one of the most amazing things that the Americans did during World War II was they precision bombed certain places so as not to target American factories. This is reported by like a multitude of different individuals, and the guy responsible even like celebrated it. And yeah, just listen to this guy talking about killing the right people. The tens of thousands of innocent people in Gaza, the many, many people who were killed in Yemen, the many people who got killed in Iran by Israel, people in Lebanon, thousands killed in Lebanon by Israel. Insanity.
Of Republicans, some Baptist, some Jewish, we organize ourselves around principles that we love and we cherish. We love individual freedom. We love entrepreneurship. We love capitalism. We love Israel. We love the idea of Israel. We love the struggle they've been involved in. We love them, helping them because you're helping yourself. So to those who worry about these stupid interviews and far off places, don't worry. The Republican Party has figured it out when it comes to Israel. We understand that Israel is a friend of America to the bitter end. We understand that God blesses those who bless Israel. And where I come from, I figured that crap out when I was 6 years old. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, just Jesus Christ. The fact that people like this just walk around freely in American society, who are just happy to openly enunciate their support for mass killing, is truly amazing to me, but it doesn't really surprise me. He sounds drunk to me. I don't fucking know whether he's drunk. Israel! I figured that out when I was 6 years old, that you had to unequivocally support Israel in the killing of children because those children are inferior. And we also got Mamdani's commentary, which has disappointed many people on this, although the clip is slightly out of context. So,
if you're reluctant to call, I wonder if you're reluctant to call them dictators in Cuba and Venezuela.
I'm not reluctant. I just haven't thought about them that often. I'll be honest with you. I think that Maduro's government is one of repression. There's no question about it. And I think
it's in Cuba.
Sorry?
And also it's happening in Cuba since 1959.
And I think that the repression that, whether we're speaking about Cuban New Yorkers or Venezuelan New Yorkers, that they have had to live through is a repression that stands in a clear contrast from what our vision is.
So someone said that this is actually cut, and there's a photo that Slammer has made this photo of him with a Hitler moustache. All of them with Hitler moustaches, actually. But the clip is apparently 2 months old. But here's apparently the full quote from Sock Done Left. I want to be clear on where I stand. I believe both Maduro and Miguel Diaz-Canel are dictators. Their administrations have stifled free and fair elections, jailed political opponents, and suppressed the free and fair press, And yet our federal government, And yet our federal government's long history of punitive policies towards both countries, including extrajudicial killings of Venezuelans and the continuation of decades-long blockade of Cuba, have only worsened their conditions. Democratic socialism is about dignity, justice, and accountability. And above all, it's about building a democracy that works for working people, not one that preys on them. I mean, Cuba isn't really a dictatorship, right? Like, in my understanding, like, it's hard to call Cuba exactly a dictatorship. Miguel? What did I say wrong? Miguel? But, like, also, someone made the point of this person who I keep seeing, Nuked West, who I don't know who they are, but Bad Empanada really likes them. It's so fun that Mamdani can't criticize his own party and state for much worse things than anything Cuba and Venezuela, things than anything Cuba and Venezuela, that out of pragmatism. Okay, anything that they've done out of pragmatism, that he can't criticize worse things that they've done than anything Cuba and Venezuela have done because of pragmatism. Literally couldn't have the balls to call out genociders in his side like Bernie or Jeffries, but can comment on Cuba and Venezuela. I mean, there is definitely truth to that. Taking a stronger position on, like, all of these people than taking anything, like, to do with, than taking any stronger position on, like, people like this. It is shocking. I don't know much about Sogdon Left. You know, I'm not that familiar. I see them tweeting okay things every now and again, but I don't watch them meticulously. But yeah, I mean, there is definitely something to be said about, like, having stronger criticisms, but not calling out people who have perpetrated genocide. There are actually, who have been so deeply complicit in genocide. There are a couple of amazing clips of Trump where he's barely awake today. Actually, I'll read chat and see what you guys are saying. Hold on. Yeah, you can give me a crash pronunciation course. Yeah, supporting Jeffries is definitely very disappointing. That's unfortunately the common understanding of the government. What, in terms of it being an evil dictatorship?
A global coalition of countries that line up behind the peace deal, behind the border peace, and it's still, every day is a challenge, but it's been driven personally by the president. It's the reason why we're involved. Global.
It is amazing. Yeah. Oh my God.
And they have been absolutely fantastic. Sir, you made it through hurricane season without a hurricane. Yeah. And so FEMA, you kept the hurricanes away. So we appreciate that. And FEMA is deploying resources and dollars 150% faster than ever before. So some.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Trump, for keeping away the hurricanes. And yes, the Batista regime was objectively much worse than Castro's regime, and objectively as well in terms of international policy. Like, the situation with Angola was undeniably like a far better thing than the US have done in really any country in the in recent years. He was just asleep the whole time.
You have
I just want to see if I can find the clip I was just looking at. Lenin told Mamdani to run in the bourgeois party. Amazing. Oh shit, we did actually get one major amazing article out of the Washington Post after they came out with this statement about Pete Hegseth. This was truly an amazing article. What does it say? How Venezuelan gangs and African jihadists are flooding Europe with cocaine. There are some truly, truly amazing comments. And by the way, apparently the highest estimate for a figure is 10 to 15% of coke goes through Venezuela to get to America. But yeah, this really has some great quotes in, and I'd recommend reading it. Hold on, let me just see if I can find it. The confluence of drug smugglers, jihadists, and corrupt officials is part of a growing global alignment among criminal gangs, militant groups, and rogue governments that threaten democratic norms and social stability with profound potential ramifications. Now the Trump administration's pressure campaign against Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, who it asserts is heavily involved in the drug smuggling, has brought global attention to the country's role in the drug trade. Maduro has denied the allegations. Wow. Nobody is doing it like the Wall Street Journal. Not at all. But I love how they're talking about threatening democracy. We're really getting in the manufacturing consent lies about how this is actually a threat to democracy. Because I would say that our closer allies are the bigger threat to democracy. For example, the United Arab Emirates, Israel, all of these countries who continually manipulate the Middle East region and deny democracy to millions of people because they would rather, you know, establish a situation where they have dictatorial regimes that they can support. But someone said that this person has like a history. The author of this article, Benoit Falcon, has like a colorful history of making things up. Russia provided targeting data for Houthi assault on global shipping. Yeah, who knows whether that's true? I'm sure that that's amazingly true. Moscow's assistance in attacks that are disrupting trade shows how the Kremlin is seeking to tie up the US in the Middle East. Iran tells region strong and complex attack coming on Israel. Tehran has warned diplomats that it is planning to use more powerful warheads and other weapons. 3rd of November 2024, that happened. Saudi minister warns of $50 oil as OPEC Plus members flout production curbs. OPEC Plus producers agreed to ease output cuts after Kingdom issued veiled threat of price war against cheaters. Like, yeah, it is amazing that this guy is just working for the Washington Post, publishing articles like this, talking about how this is the threat to democracy. And the person who put what fecking democracy? Yeah, of course. No, America's a brilliant influence around it. There's oil to be had. I think it's also, by the way, because the people who invested in the country's oil were China. China helped build up Venezuela's oil reserves. It wasn't actually really a great investment for China, but they can paralyze this oil being sent to people that the US government basically don't agree with. Notably, places like Cuba and such, where, you know, them having oil is not something that the US government are going to be interested in. And just like this being talked about, this kind of stuff being published in a major outlet is so troubling and worrying, whilst it is literally like on the brink of America destroying a country of more than 30 million people, where already millions of people have fled from the country as a result of their policies. And just this is the level of discussion going on right now.
And I will just end by saying, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders who are making decisions in difficult situations, and we do in this case and all these strikes. They're making judgment calls and ensuring that they defend the American people. They've done the right things. We'll keep doing that, and we have their backs, Mr. President.
Good job. Thank you very much. Howard?
It is just like a terrifying thought, you know? It really is. But don't worry, he'll be satirized in South Park, so everything in America is fine. China should defend their interests. China is not going to defend over Venezuela. It's not worth it for China. It's too far away, you know. There was another video of Hexeth that I wanted to see. Hold on.
91 sure sir, but down 91% by sea.
We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now, which is the entire point, right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. This is meant to get after that approach. I'm not sure.
These are just people's lives being taken away, you know? These are just people's lives. People being killed as a result of American foreign policy, and it's just like, you know, who cares? That's like it. It's just like literally it, just like kill them, you know? And they're destabilizing, they're creating more refugees all over Europe, all over the world, and just they openly talk about how and laugh about how they're killing more people. And let's watch some Fox News.
Fox News alert, it is Judgment Day. Sources say Maduro's been praying to Jesus. That's the narco-terrorist, socialist dictator who took over for Hugo Chavez in Venezuela.
The narco-terrorist, social dictator. You're scared of H3. Get fucked, fake-ass journalist. Bryce Butt, H3 is the one who doesn't respond to me, so it's quite an interesting comment to say there.
Venezuela, and keeps flooding American streets with migrants, gangs, and cocaine. 11 U.S. warships, including our largest carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, are now in the Caribbean. Venezuela is surrounded. The strike group is waiting on orders from the commander-in-chief as the president's holding high-level meetings at the White House, calculating our next move.
I guess it doesn't come as any kind of major surprise that the US just lies so it can carry out a war for absolutely no real reason beyond, you know, covering up the Epstein files, beyond actually having to deal with anything going on in Americans' lives, to just have another war to do, which is seemingly against his base, but I assume framing it as evil Syrian jihadi narco-terrorists is just a brilliant way to do it.
Against the narco state. The choice is Maduro's. Trump's giving him an ultimatum. Abdicate power or else. After Trump's phone call with the dictator, that's the best offer.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about it?
No, I can't do that.
Mr. President, would you say it went well?
I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call.
This time, it wasn't a perfect phone call.
How your wife, cruel world, empty mind. I feel like you're having a breakdown, so I think I've probably had enough of what you're saying, because Madison is most definitely not my wife.
The Venezuelan strongman reportedly asked for global amnesty, and Trump said, how about no? Then he said, what if I hold free and fair elections? Trump said, no. You already did that and you lost. Then he asked, if I step down, can I still control the military? 47 said, pack your bags.
Agent 47, no.
Even with a $50 million bounty on his head, Maduro's maintained an iron grip on power by bribing his cronies with kickbacks from the coke, oil, and gold rackets. But this time, the narcos aren't calling shots anymore. Uncle Sam is, a.k.a. Trump. And the president's tightening the noose. In the last 24 hours, Trump declared the airspace above Venezuela entirely closed. Closing airspace can only mean one thing. This is escalating, and it's escalating quickly. The commander-in-chief isn't going to ratchet up the pressure, then walk away without a win. There's no way Maduro can face down the full force of a U.S. carrier.
Chat is all just like Hassaninism. There are many people in here who don't agree with every single thing that Hassan says. I am not Hassan Piker. You know? Like, it's just an amazing commentary. Thank you for that.
Strike group. The president is keeping his options open.
What's the position on whether U.S. troops on the ground is a possibility there? Is that, I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative
in
status?
Venezuela? I think my previous answer stands. There's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table.
Maduro's a sitting duck, and the word on the street is he'll be out of power before Christmas.
Is this always what always what Fox News is like. I mean, I don't regularly watch it, obviously. But yeah, just like listening to this person talk about like how, you know, he's like so gleefully excited about Venezuela being torn apart is quite something.
No one's bailing the socialist out. He's getting no love from his sponsors in Beijing and Moscow. Putin and Xi Jinping are at the table with Trump doing much bigger trade and diplomatic deals. They're not going to throw Maduro a lifeline and jeopardize the deals over a small fry in our backyard. And we're doing the Europeans a big favor. Venezuelan gangs have been trafficking boatloads of coke to West Africa, and the Africans have been pouring it into France and Germany. Maduro's isolated. According to UN investigators, he's guilty of crimes against humanity, torture, murder, sexual violence. He only got 20% of the vote last year.
Seemingly, Maduro quite possibly is guilty for many of those things, but at the same time, you know, so are most of your allies. This is not what this is based on. It's genuinely why, like, it's also so funny to hear people talk about Hamas and Palestine and all of this stuff and be like, okay, Hamas have got to go because they're doing these war crimes. And it's like, hey, like, your closest ally is doing these kind of things.
Stole the election and wouldn't leave. And he's unleashed migrants, gangs, and poison onto our shores. Chuck Schumer's backed military action in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, Yemen, and Ukraine. Schumer's basically down for whatever, whenever, no questions asked.
I don't know what they even say it is. It is just almost like totally made up, and you just kind of have to guess why Trump is doing it. And I think it is only for a projection of US power and to try and unite his base over something. But I don't really know how it would unite his base.
But now that Trump's the president, he has questions.
Americans are right to wonder, what on earth is Donald Trump planning in Venezuela?
The only thing that they're right about, the only thing that they're correct about is that this guy doesn't care aside from it being about Venezuela.
Is Donald Trump nudging?
Like, they only care because it's a country... Sorry, that wasn't what I was saying. They only care about a country because it's, you know... because it's a country that Donald Trump is invading. They don't care or give a shit about Venezuela or its people, you know?
America into another...
Epstein distraction, oil, pick one, but it's also like... maybe Epstein distraction, but the Epstein stuff has largely gone away now.
The war? Is he seeking regime change for Maduro? Will he put U.S. troops in harm's way? Nobody knows.
Once again, the concern is US troops being put in harm's way, rather than, you know, a country of 30 million people.
There's no way Trump's telling Schumer anything. Might as well tell Maduro. Schumer's old enough to know the war on drugs has been a 4-decade failure. And he knows that Trump didn't storm back into the White House just to repeat the failures of past presidents. The Secretary of the Navy gets it.
Drugs kill more Americans than we've ever lost in wars. So I think at the end of the day, the president...
This guy looks crazy again. This guy is a weird-looking guy. Drugs kill more people. Wow, drugs kill more people. I wonder why. Also, once again, like, this isn't going to address the problem of drugs. Like the opiate crisis in America, is it?
Has correctly identified this as an attack on the country, which it is.
The narco-traffickers are on deliver-or-die missions. They're ferrying cargo through the Pacific and the Gulf of America. Some of these speedboats are 40 feet long and carry $70 million of contraband. Taking out these boats hit the cartels where it hurts, their bank accounts. And forcing out Maduro sends a powerful signal to the Colombians, the Mexicans, and the Chinese. The Monroe Doctrine's back, and American deterrence is back.
I'm not sure the Monroe Doctrine really went anywhere away, and American deterrence went anywhere. Once again, though, I do have to say, like, the peace ticket stuff, as I said yesterday, is just truly amazing. That this was apparently like a peace ticket presidency for Trump.
Venezuela is a launching pad for coke, and they're getting squeezed. The CIA is already on the ground there and have been authorized to give the president options. Operation Southern Spear is designed to defend the American homeland from drug warfare. And guess who has a problem with that?
If you want to understand if those are drug boats, who would go on those boats, it's people who have families that have been kidnapped. And they're told, go on the boats or we will execute your children.
Where's he getting this from? Coke boats aren't being driven by hostages. The Wall Street Journal reports each boat is manned by 3 to 4 well-paid professionals, a pilot, a mechanic.
So who were the other 7 people on that boat that you killed all those people on?
A navigator, and a voucher man, someone who's trusted by the buyer and the seller. Now, someone's trying to sabotage U.S. operations, and the saboteurs are coming from within our
Yeah, look, Maduro might be a dictator, but at least he's doing cool dancing.
own country. Over the weekend, the Washington Post accused the Secretary of War of committing war crimes. Hegseth order on first Caribbean boat strike, officials say, kill them all. The story goes something like this. U.S. Southern Command launched an airstrike against a Coke boat. They saw that there were survivors and launched a second strike. So there were none. Pete calls it fake news. Quote, our current operations in the Caribbean are lawful under both U.S. and international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflict, and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command.
It's also just so funny that there are people who genuinely believe this when you can also find that, like, yeah, this is not something that's true. Also, you mentioned about Chris, what's his name? He forgot to delete a tweet where he says, then it got real embarrassing. In April 2019, we tried to organize a kind of coup, but it became a debacle. Everyone who told us they'd rally to Guido got cold feet, and the plan failed publicly and spectacularly, making America look foolish and weak. This guy just openly mentioned that that they were working with the Trump administration to do a coup.
Here's the White House.
Does the administration deny that that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law.
Lethal operations like this go through layers of lawyers. From the War Department, state, national security, everything goes up and down the chain of command and gets signed off on because we value life in America.
This is literally just Israel. At this point, your life is just Israel. Americans, you live in Israel, where everything dictated to you are just Israeli talking points about why it's good to kill innocent people.
The United States has conducted strikes all over the globe like this for decades. But for some reason, when President Trump does it, it's a crime.
Once again, this is the only problem with Fox News because, of course, they're based on this aspect, which is just saying, actually, well, obviously it's not really based, but even a broken clock is right twice a day. They're just correct. Like, this is my analysis. But he doesn't care. He likes the strikes. But it's just like Americans sit there and cry, and the same guy who's like, we did a coup there, is posting about how upset he is there. And like, yeah, once again, I know I mentioned it yesterday, but here's like a summary of that article. Whistleblower reveals the SAS units in Afghanistan from Jonathan Cook. Shot dead a sleeping couple in bed, badly injuring 2 toddlers with them, killed a group of women and children under a mosquito net, took existing prisoners along on raids so they could be executed as though they posed a threat, placed weapons under the bodies of civilians the SAS had illegally killed to justify their murder. Also, by the way, in the context of Gaza, do you not think this country that we know just has this ability to lie and will be told as being moral and just in our press is doing much worse things or exactly the same things, planting weaponry in houses and stuff? But like, yeah, I'm sorry, this is where Fox News is just 100% correct. None of these people care. Like, they don't care. This was fine. This was good policy. This was acceptable and moral. This went on for years. Senior officers systemically covered up these crimes. What you're upset about is that there is a guy who is now in power who is like openly supporting this. That there is a guy who doesn't hide behind, oh, well, yeah, Sophie, thank you for putting that in there. I'm going to listen to that in a second. That he goes in and just says, well, you know what's happening. It's like, we want to kill everyone and I don't respect the laws of war. That's all they fucking care about. It's like, by the way, and this happens in the UK as well. I showed you that quote of, oh, how am I forgetting his name? Horrible Star of David everywhere is needed, man. How am I forgetting his name? Deputy Conservative. How am I forgetting his name? Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick was like, we do killings. The woke law is stopping us. The UK Special Forces are, and then they were upset. People were upset about him. Wait, I'll see if I can see the video. Here we go. Wait.
Wahbi Mohammed, a man born in Somalia, the European Court, that if killing our special courts and prevent their removal, our special forces are killing rather than capturing terrorists, because our lawyers tell us that if they're caught, the European Court will set them free.
Amazing. Like, people get so upset about this shit and act as if it's so outrageous. This is literally just US and Western policy around the world. And getting killed too. They don't report on their wins or losses. Oh, sorry, yeah. SAS have been doing this in Ireland. No doubt. I mean, as I said the other day, we're not prosecuting Soldier F. Soldier F is still running around the UK. And we had someone... Was it Priti Patel? Wait. These conservatives make videos where they're, like, explaining how Soldier F was brilliant. Was it Priti Patel?
Was going to be.
Israel is a key ally.
You can see from the quality of her content, Israel is a key ally, that this is amazing stuff. Wait, was it her? I don't want to get this wrong. Okay, I can't find it, but oh well. One of them was literally talking about this the other day. You can't name Soldier F. Like, I think it would don't put his name in here. I know his name, but I don't want it. By the way, I would recommend Captain Hitsugia that you look into his name. You look into Andrew Callahan of Channel 5, because I don't think he's a great name. A great guy, sorry. But yeah. The whistleblower told a belated inquiry investigating summary executions of 80 Afghan people by SAS units. We didn't join UK Special Forces for this sort of behaviours. Toddlers to get shot in their beds or random killing. It's not special. It's not elite. Yeah, it is. You guys, well, the Americans were just doing murder over and over again. Yeah, Callahan is I don't know fully what the allegations against him are, but they are not good if I recall correctly. Why the US had recently intimidated the court, but yeah, basically they're just talking about how bad this is, like how bad, and just, yeah, I'd recommend reading the article about the SAS and what they were up to in Afghanistan.
What law is it that allows no survivors? The strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
When Barack Obama authorized lethal strikes against ISIS during the war on terror, and our operators launched a missile at a convoy of ISIS fighters, and the missile hit, boom, everyone's dead. Wait, the smoke clears. You see one guy still hanging off the back of a Humvee, trying to get away. You double tap, boom, you finish the job. You're not going to send American men in to grab the surviving terrorist, put him in handcuffs, and take him to our base and give him a dinner and a doctor. This is no different. These cartel traffickers have been designated as foreign terrorists. We're blowing up terrorists in the Caribbean, but we're supposed to rescue them from drowning if they survive?
I also feel like so many libs here are willing to confront the concept of the specter of terrorism in the case of Venezuela, but don't see the problem in the context of Palestine. How terrorist is this all-powerful word that is invoked as our evil enemy who doing anything to is legitimate. They don't see it in the context of Palestine, why it's such a dangerous word that Israel has been using for decades to prevent any kind of peaceful negotiations and to frame Palestinians as irrational savages and totally remove and devoid the context of what Israel actually does to provoke Palestinians, you know? Like, people will recognize it here and say, hang on a second, Trump is just saying this to legitimize mass killings of people. There was less outrage over Israel double tapping a hospital than there is this, which is truly amazing.
Now, I don't know what happened with this strike, but Senator Van Hollen, who never met a Latin gangbanger that he didn't like, has a new hoax.
New hoax alert. New hoax alert.
I like the slop, I'm going to be honest.
New hoax alert.
I think it's very possible there was a war crime committed. Of course, for it to be a war crime, you have to accept the Trump administration's whole construct here.
That we're at war.
Which is we're in armed conflict at war with the drug gangs. Of course, they've never presented the public with the information they've got here. But it could be worse than that, right? If that theory is wrong, then it's plain murder.
Barbaric cartels are injecting billions of dollars of narcotics into our country, causing death and violence and addiction. That's not a war.
It's so funny as well because, like, today, these are much more problems of capitalist society. Like, if you live in a society where there are people who are traumatized, who are incredibly poor, who live on the streets, which only increases the amount of trauma in your lives, drugs are always going to be an option for escapism, to run away from the problems that you are facing, and people are always going to turn to them. But don't worry, today we had this from Trump.
Great job on that, Madam Secretary. Agriculture, Brooke. Eggs were 4 or 5 times higher than they had ever been. They said don't order eggs for Easter at the White House. And we ended up doing it, and we got the egg prices way down, lower than what they were before. But the word affordability is a con job by the Democrats. They say affordable. I watched the other day where some very low IQ congresswoman talked about affordability. She had no idea. Their prices were much higher.
War crime, but stopping them is a war crime. Now we know what the Seditious Six video is setting up.
Do you believe if there was a second strike to eliminate any survivors, that constitutes a war crime?
It seems to. If what has been reported is accurate, I've got serious concerns about anybody in that chain of command stepping over a line that they should never step over.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Kelly and his crew were telling soldiers to disobey their superiors to hit coke boats. Next time the Secretary of War orders a coke boat blown, we could see soldiers mutiny. Democrats are telling soldiers to mutiny.
Just say simply, I'm not going to do that. That's against the law.
It puts a lot of burden on the troops to make a decision in real time. But
a reasonable person can tell something that is legal and something that is illegal.
So would you refuse these specific orders to strike drug boats if you were still in uniform?
Well, the difference between the initial strike and what is being reported, as a second strike, and those things are different. I think this administration has tied themselves in knots.
Well, the ladies of The View, who I know have never done cocaine, ever, says not only is Hegseth a war criminal, but all the rank and file should go on trial.
The person who gave the order can be held accountable and put in prison. The people that conducted the orders, that pulled the...
Yeah, there is definitely something very grating about this. Like 100%. There is something very grating because these people I doubt would apply the same logic to, the same logic to, the Democrats, but at the same time, you just love war crimes. Also, sorry, I just received a message and I was kind of wondering what it was. And it was this. It was from the chart book. This is a photo of Lenin as a baby on the left. So if you ever wanted to see an image of baby Lenin, then there you go.
Trigger are also responsible and can be held accountable. So now you have people that are serving their countries, that are serving this country as patriots, perhaps following an illegal order, and then themselves can be court-martialed.
I don't think American servicemen and women participating in Operation Southern Spear are watching The View, but word's getting out that following orders in Latin America could land you in Leavenworth. Senators are telling soldiers to use the N-word.
You mentioned that you were a captain in the Navy. If you received that order, would you have carried it out?
No.
The quality of Fox News is really going up. N-word.
No one's getting punished except the people interfering with military operations. Quote, there are laws that affect our nation. Read Title 18, Chapter 115, Section 2387. Whoever with the intent to interfere, impair, influence the loyalty, morale, or discipline of the military and naval forces will be fined or imprisoned up to 10 years. So where do these people even get off? The Biden administration...
I'm looking for the cockboats.
...after Abbey Gate executed 10 Afghans with a Reaper drone and called it a righteous strike. 48 hours later, oops, it was an innocent family. I guess it's not a war crime if it's an accident. Bombs away Barry.
Yeah, I don't believe he would have said no at all.
He dropped over 20,000 bombs on 7 countries in 2016.
Did he just call him Bombs Away Barry? I like that name.
Killed thousands of people. Not all of them were terrorists. There was a lot of collateral damage. Was anyone court-martialed? What we're witnessing now is a setup. The Washington Post leaks...
I guess this is also just such a layup as well. And it's the same thing with fucking Israel. Like, it's obviously such a layup when your policy is just pretty much the same as the Republicans, but you just shoot and cry about it a bit and sometimes maybe investigate one of your war crimes that comes to fucking nothing. But, like, you know, it's really just incredible to just hear this kind of stuff from these people, to just go and tell us basically about how, no, it's okay to do these, it's okay to do these things when we're in power. Bombs away Barry.
Story about a double tap strike, and the seditious 6 comes out and calls it a war crime.
The Gang of 6, he should have called them. After Zhang Qing, Mao's wife.
A week after their video told soldiers to disobey orders. It's so obvious, The View sees it.
Well, I know this is why those Democratic vets put out that video last week that people said, why would they need to say what's already obvious? The likelihood of this is it's not a war. We're not at war with Venezuela, but it's murder. It's flat out murder. And anyone that acted on those orders could be held on war crimes.
They've been foaming the runway for a while. CIA Slotkin, who's running point for this domestic propaganda operation, said last month, Trump, not Maduro, is the real dictator.
He seems to be laying the groundwork to stay in power. There are 2 ways this can happen, both straight out of the same authoritarian playbook. The first, a scenario in which Trump finds a pretext, invokes the Insurrection Act, and tries to impose martial law. Elections, therefore, could be canceled.
Isn't it funny that the CIA-backed seditious 6 doesn't want a real war on drugs? They want us to do the same thing that hasn't worked for decades.
To be fair, the only other thing that was like really significant was when that happened recently. Trump is genuinely trying to capture what you call like the deep state of America, like interfering in the Federal Reserve to try and remove Lisa Cook. Like, the Federal Reserve is meant to be something that is not politicized. They interfered specifically so they could basically try and ensure that, you know, Trump would have more power, more ability to manipulate the country and do whatever he wanted. Maybe there is truth that what he's going for is just more power. But at the same time, as much as I don't like this guy, I think there is kind of a sort of thing. And yeah, you're right. Obama was, I think it's unfair to say this about Bombs Away Barry and stuff. I really think he's great with the Obama Kunduz Hospital. It was great.
Well, maybe it has worked for the CIA. The CIA reportedly uses the war on drugs, cartels, Latin American paramilitary groups as black ops, off-the-book operations to run money and weapons and rig elections. That's
once again 100% true. Langley, there were so many people who were just collaborating with warlords. Literally, the guy who just carried out the shooting was working with the warlord. Like, he worked with, was it Ahmad Warazai or Karzai's brother? Whoever it was. Anyway, these people were, like, accused of cocaine, of the cultivation of poppies in the country to be used for, guess what?
It's been widely reported. Now the military's leaking classified intelligence about airstrikes in the Caribbean? Seems like there's factions of the government that do not want Trump to be successful in Latin America. Isn't it weird that they have no issues fighting wars in Europe and bombing countries in the Middle East, but when it's in our own backyard and it's something that directly affects the American people, then they have a problem?
The United States is under attack from organized criminal narco-terrorists in our hemisphere, and the president is responding in the defense of our country. I do find it interesting.
This is my favorite rhetoric ever, the combination of terrorists with narco-terrorists.
That all these countries want us to send, and supply, for example, nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles to defend Europe. But when the United States positions aircraft carriers in our hemisphere where we live, somehow that's a problem.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become
Yes.
Fox News patron.
I am gonna need to become a Fox News patron. Right, let's have a look at what Sophie sent. I don't know how long this is. Oh, it's like an hour-long video of his foreign policy views. You know what, guys? Actually, I guess there's a little bit of Gaza news to cover, but I've got to go pee before I do. I can't stay on, so I'll carry up to 4 hours. I really need to go and find what I was gonna do because I have to pee. We'll listen to some Riyad Awad. We'll do a song that we haven't heard before. Yeah, I need your donations to pay for the Fox News sub.
اسألوا عني الجبال والوديان اسألوا عني سجون العذاب اسألوا عني الجبال والوديان اسألوا عني سجون العذاب اسألوا عني مواكب النضال في عالجو يافا كان الحدث الجريمة صارت في عمان وجرش في عالجو يافا كان الحدث الجريمة صارت في عمان وجرش صارت المؤامرة في لبنان أقاتل أناضل من أجل الهوية أقاتل أناضل من أجل الحرية أقاتل أناضل من أجل الهوية أقاتل أناضل من أجل الحرية أناضل من أجل الربيع
what did... if you drag your cam off screen right now, I'm going to lose my shit. I didn't. I did this. Look. I let the song finish as well, so you guys could get your full groove in. Right. What was I going to cover? Maybe I'll cover. I don't know. I'll decide in a second. So another journalist was killed in Gaza today. Mahmoud Essamwadi was killed for probably this video. Not this video specifically, but... Probably, so we had another journalist who was killed today, as I said. He's one of 270 journalists. The first killed during this alleged supposed ceasefire, if I'm correct about this. The thing about this of like, yeah, that he was basically killed during is probably because he had the ability to fly drones and document Gaza's destruction. Like, probably as simple as that. Actually, wait. There was a really interesting story that probably is worth reading. And is like Palestine related. This is the story of how the Democrats blew it on Gaza. So this comes from Ben Rhodes, who was apparently called Hamas by like war hawks and like pro-Israel people. Basically, what the argument makes the argument, what it revolves around is this. During the Biden presidency, it was shorthanded the Hug Bibi strategy, the idea that smothering Netanyahu with unconditional support would give the US leverage to influence his actions. Over the final 15 months of the Biden presidency, this approach led the White House to provide a flood of weapons for Israel's bombardment of Palestinians, veto United Nations Security Council resolutions calling for a ceasefire, attack the International Criminal Court for pursuing charges against Netanyahu, ignore its own policies about supporting military units credibly accused of war crimes, and blame Hamas for not accepting ceasefire terms that the Israeli government was also rejecting. The only thing I have to add there is the Biden administration actively lied about ceasefire negotiations. Who likes Jonathan Bree and Princess Chelsea? I've become obsessed. What? Who is Jonathan Bree and Princess Chelsea? I have no idea. But yeah, this article is particularly interesting because he basically writes about how the Democrats have really messed up. And it's also crazy to see someone who was this senior in the Biden administration openly admitting this and not coming to the realization that, you know, if Kamala Harris had just even paid lip service to this rather than unequivocal support to Israel, that they would have been able to change things? That they would have been able to maybe win the election, even if it wasn't sincere, because I somehow doubt that this man is that sincere. It's the same with the UK government. Like, the UK government, you know, the UK government could have changed, like Labour could have changed and expanded its base by not just desiring to cling to Israel, you know? Like, I think that you've kind of phrased it very well. It sounds like they were doing it for the love of genocide, personally. I think you may be right there. This approach made Democrats hypocrites when defending a rules-based order, racial equality, and democracy. It alienated elements of their base and placed them out of step with younger voters. And in an age of authoritarianism, fealty to an Israeli strongman who routinely humiliated them made Democrats appear weak. Mr. Netanyahu was hugged all the way into the arms of Trump. I mean, honestly, what kind of bullshit is that to do everything in your power to help the genocide and claim that it's to help Palestine? Exactly. Exactly. Yes, exactly. And yes, it was a good day when they slapped Barca, and it wasn't even a bad day on Sunday when they drew 1-1. They won 1-1, sorry. Yeah, we won because we had a red card. Today, with a tenuous ceasefire, it may be tempting for the party to memory hole what has happened in Gaza. After all, Democrats just won resounding electoral victories focused on affordability, and there is no easy consensus on the Middle East. Yet this would compound the mistake of ignoring or rationalizing an intolerable reality. In Gaza, Palestinians live amid mountains of rubble. Hamas remains entrenched, and international journalists are still routinely denied entry to catalogue the destruction. The Israeli parliament has voted again in favour of annexing the West Bank, where brutal attacks by Israeli settlers are escalating. Israeli politics has drifted so far right that even the removal of Mr. Netanyahu is unlikely to usher in a moderate government that swiftly changes course. By the way, this was a pre-October the 7th problem. They should just be breaking ties. The United States is also a one-party state, but with typical American extravagance, they have two of them. Yeah, I mean, that is a good quote, and I don't think it's wrong. I have seen that he placed sanctions. I haven't covered that article. It's probably something that would be good and smart to cover. Certainly, this is painful and a personal issue for many politicians and voters genuinely concerned about Israel's security and Jewish safety around the world. Anyone who is genuinely concerned about Jewish safety would admit that Zionism is a failed project for going anywhere near establishing that. Zionism is a totally failed project on that basis. Zionism is ultimately a terrible, terrible project. And even then, like... This is Danny Danon. This is like someone who's, you know, fucking just in the Netanyahu government talking about Mamdani.
Mr. Mamdani said he will arrest Netanyahu if he comes to New York. Do you think that the next time Netanyahu arrives to the UN, he will arrest him?
Well, first, I think, and I know we have many leaders from the Jewish community here, we have to realize that you have a candidate who used anti-Semitism in his campaign, and he got elected. We cannot ignore it. We cannot ignore it. And if after the elections, he continued with that language, it is a challenge. I'm sure we will overcome it. We have a strong Jewish community here in New York. I'm sure Prime Minister Netanyahu will come to New York many times, will speak at the United Nations. With all due respect, Mayor-elect Mamdani is not the one who decides who is coming to New York and who is coming to the United Nations.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Amazing things. Yet it is past time for Democrats to stop supporting this Israeli government. This is also the problem, and I probably won't read on much more. By letting go of an outdated approach, Democrats can reclaim their values, foster a bigger and more stable coalition, and start building the world they want, rather than defending the indefensible. It is past time. This Israeli government, this is just the problem, and this is what I worry it will come down to. Democrats have long held virtuous reasons for supporting Israel. Louis Brandeis saw Israel's socialist kibbutzim as a haven for European Jews and as part of a global effort to advance... To be fair, it doesn't surprise me at all that an American politician is... an American at this time saw Israel as progressive, because yes, it would be progressive if you totally ignored any of the victims of this, that the prerequisite of building these kibbutzim was to, you know, ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. Oh, these are the virtuous reasons, because apparently they did socialism. Harry Truman's recognition of Israel was a commitment to Jewish security for the Jewish people after the Holocaust. Jews marched alongside the black people in pursuit of civil rights and joined them as a core of the Democratic Party's base. Through the Cold War, Israel retained the dual status of an underdog and a democratic ally. Ugh. While this support often overlooked Palestinian displacement, it didn't overlook it, it is premised in it in the same way that this is. It has become harder for politicians today to square the story they tell about Israel with the reality of a right-wing government determined to block the emergence of a Palestinian state and to annex the West Bank. Consider the language that many Democrats routinely use. Israel is the only democracy and has a right to defend itself. The Palestinian Authority must reform and be a credible partner for peace, to achieve two states living side by side in peace and security. While unobjectionable, the word seemed embalmed from the aftermath of 1993 Oslo Accords, which ostensibly traded Palestinian recognition of Israel for Palestinian self-determination. Yes, the main problem is that it didn't. Fun fact, I asked FTN if she thought Kamala made a mistake not standing with Palestinians, and she said yes. IMO says a lot about DC internal politics. Who is FTN? What is FTN? I don't know what that is, but yeah. Ugh. By the time I worked for Barack Obama's Bomber Barry's White House, Israel was a regional military superpower. Israeli settlements mushroomed across the West Bank, a growing enterprise of security barriers, checkpoints and restrictions on work and freedom of movement consigned Palestinians to a suppressed existence. Hamas controlled Gaza, which was strangled by a permanent Israeli blockade and devastated by episodic wars. The Palestinian Authority governed less than half of the West Bank and was delegitimized by corruption and cooperation with Israeli security forces. I don't think I'm going to read on with this. I can say that if you want to, you can. It's just going to take a long time, and there's not much merit, because it's just kind of indicative about this realization of it was a terrible idea to hug Bibi and to be very close to Netanyahu. But ultimately, it's not reversing or making major changes. And the reason is because I'm tired, and I think I'm going to end the stream here. So thank you all for coming. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day. Thank you all for watching and supporting and donating. And yeah, generally just being here. I'm incredibly grateful for it. But yeah, have a lovely rest of the evening, and I'll see you all tomorrow when I'll be streaming. Maybe with a debate with Lonerbox. I don't actually know. Remains to be seen. But yeah, okay. See you all soon, and thank you. A couple of million people. I can't remember I'm incredibly grateful for it. But yeah, have a lovely rest of the evening, and I'll see you all tomorrow when I'll be streaming. Maybe with a debate with Lonerbox. I don't actually know. Remains to be seen.